followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Commissioner Hardiman.
Good morning. We believe a family that prays together stays together, and we are a family. And so if it does not offend you, take that neighbor by the hand next to you and gently squeeze their hand as we go to God in prayer. Eternal God, our Father, we come to you this beautiful morning to tell you thank you for what you've already done. Thank you for what you're doing today, and thank you for what you're going to do. We thank you for this blessed, beautiful community of Miami-Dade County. Thank you for the privilege of being able to live in a place that while there is wildfires on the West Coast and ice up north, the sun is shining in Miami-Dade County. And so we thank you today for that privilege, and we thank you for the privilege of being the beautiful place of South Florida. Today we pray for every child. We pray for our community and every family. We pray for this board of commission today. We pray for the chair, the vice chair, and every commissioner. We pray for Madam Mayor today. We pray for the manager, and we pray for the entire team of Miami-Dade County. We pray today for peace in their family, power in their faith, and prosperity in their future. We love you and we thank you and we bless your name today. And while we're praying, we pray for the hand we're holding. Pray that you would bless their families, bless their going out, and bless their coming in. And oh God, we have an agenda, but we depend on the Almighty. And so we close this prayer today in unity. We close this prayer today in love. And we thank you for being an all-wise God, for being an all-knowing God, and for being a name above every name. We bless you, and for whatever name we may call you, we do know that you're God all by yourself, and you're God alone. So this we pray in your holy name today, and we give you glory, and this will be a great day in your name. And we believe what we've asked has already been done. We give you praise, and all of God's people said amen. Amen. God bless you.
Pretty good, right?
What's the right name?
Gaston.
Thank you, sir. Gaston Smith.
Gaston E. Smith.
You might want to Google him. Google that brother. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, you may be seated. All right, guys, before we get started, I'd like to welcome the members from the Holy Cross Lutheran Christian Day School student government who are visiting us today. Please stand so you can be recognized. All right. Thank you for joining us today. So are you missing school today? Yeah? All right. Congratulations. You got catch-up work to do, makeup work to do. All right. Madam Attorney, should we move right into reasonable opportunity for the public to be heard?
Yes, that'd be appropriate.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and open reasonable opportunity for the public to be heard. When I call your name, please stand. Come up to the podium and state the item you're speaking on, your name and address, and you will have 2 minutes to speak based on the amount of speakers I have. We do have the potential of what could be a long agenda today. Hopefully not, but it can be. Therefore, I ask you to speak only on the item that you signed up to speak for. If you start speaking on other items or off topic, I will ask you kindly not to, and I will cut your microphone off. And the sergeants will ask you to sit down or step outside. All right. Alicia Arellano, Mary Waters, Michael Perez, Vice Mayor Maureen Porras from Doral. Somehow they put you as Vice Mayor Maureen Doral Porras. Luckily, I know who you are. Paul Camacho, Lucia Echaurri, Wilbur B. Bell, Ernie Echaurri, and Stanley Young. Alicia Arellano.
If your name was called, please come up to speak.
Mr. Wilbur B. Bell. Wilbur Bell as well.
Good morning. My name is Alicia Arellano, 18701 Southwest 134 Avenue, Miami 33177. I am speaking today on item 4A. I strongly oppose this ordinance. Community councils were created to ensure that local residents, not political appointees, have a direct say in zoning and development decisions that impact their neighborhoods. Moving away from an elected process undermines public trust and reduces accountability, allowing political influence to override the will of the people. Instead of limiting democracy, we should be strengthening it by preserving fair elections and ensuring that those who serve are chosen by the community, not appointed behind closed doors. I urge you to reject this ordinance as it's written and protect the voice of the voters. Appointments should only come after the election process has finished. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Mary, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Michael Perez, speaking against 2B2, address 15330 Southwest 155 Court. Greetings, Commissioners. I'm speaking against this item because I am very much against industrial centers and their expansion, but like many people behind me in green, I do have worries about solid waste as well and how we handle it. I do not think burning our trash and turning it into ash is a way to continue. For years, Miamians have suffered from incineration, those living near exhibiting higher rates of cancer and respiratory illness. Miami is known for many great things, but we shouldn't be known for continuing incineration. Just like Old Smoky, the potential for toxic ash can contaminate surrounding communities, whether it's in Doral, Miramar, or even on the border of the Everglades. What goes up must come down, and we will all be affected. Thank you for letting me speak.
No, thank you very much for participating in this process. Thank you. Next.
Good morning. My name is Ernie Echaurri. I reside at 27610 Southwest 153rd Court. I'm here today to speak against item 4A. I strongly believe that the people should be voted in by the constituents and also by their fellow peers, board members as well. And this should not be a matter that will be led to commissioners appoint the people that are going in place that would actually be voicing the concerns of the citizens and the commonwealth of the citizens itself. So I strongly oppose to item 4A. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Bell, Councilman Bell.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Wilbur Bell. I'm here to oppose this item because if it's appointed, we lose balance. I was elected to this office 29 years ago when it was first created, November the 12th, 1996, and I've served faithfully the whole time. And in the process, I don't know of any community council member who was indicted, was caught up in the Miami Herald for any foolishness.
Give me 1 second, Mr. Bell, and if we can stop your time. Good morning, everyone. Let me just say this. We are looking for possibly thousands of dollars to go to certain non-for-profits that are desperately in need of funds. So I would say this to you: if your phone rings, that is an indication from you to me that you have a donation to those not-for-profit organizations. So feel free to leave your phone on, and we will happily escort you out and make that arrangement outside of the chambers. Thank you so much.
But I'm here to also attest to some of our successes. Robert is here, was slated to be shut down. We had a hearing at the Government Center with about 800 people there who came in from around the world, and we sat and listened to them. If this item is moved from our venue in the neighborhoods, it'll be bad, real bad. The second item is from the success of Community Council 14 was 127th Avenue and 200th Street. it was in the boondocks. We created value there on all four corners of bustling business areas. We had some pushback from the residents, but once this Publix was built, it was everybody, the people who were against the item were the first one in the store. The community councils have done great things. They've created billions and billions of dollars, including the construction and the approval of all that construction on US 1, the sewer system, the development of 137th Avenue. We've been completely honest in the process, and I think we should stay as is, and any attachments to it or amendments should be removed from the original ordinance. That's my word this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bell, for your service.
Thank you. My name is Lucia Chowdy. I reside at 27610 Southwest 153 Court. I am here to oppose item 4A. Commissioners, I strongly believe that our community should continue to have the right to vote for our own community council members. This ensures that our unique needs and concerns are represented and that our elected members are accountable to us. By allowing residents to vote, we ensure that a wide range of perspectives and experiences are brought to the table. This leads to more informed decision-making and a community council that truly reflects our community's character. And voting for our community council members encourages community engagement, participation, and ownership. When we as residents have a stake in the decision-making process, we are more likely to attend meetings. I can vouch for that myself, volunteer, and contribute to community initiatives. This in turn builds a stronger, more cohesive community. Appointing members, on the other hand, could lead to a lack of representation and accountability, potentially disenfranchising community members and diminishing our voice. I urge you to preserve our community's autonomy and voice in decision-making processes. Let us continue to vote for our community council members and ensure that our community remains vibrant, engaged, and thriving. Please oppose this change. I'd also like to question as to why the commissioner that put this out is not here. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Member of the BCC, Paul Camacho, 1800 Southwest
Paul,
98th Court.
Give me one moment. It's always a pleasure and a privilege to see you, my brother, and thank you for all you do. Let me just put this out there really quickly. I do know that many of you are willing to make a donation to a not-for-profit if your phone were to ring. However, one of the things that we really need is not for a competition between the microphone and yourselves. So if you can just do me a quick favor and just lower your decimal down so that those of us who are listening and paying attention, who are watching on television, can hear those who are at the microphone presenting their case to this board. I think it's a nice thing to do, and I think it's very respectful. So just do that for me one moment, please. Thank you so much.
That means those on the back of the dais as well.
Do I start from the beginning?
Go ahead. We already got your name and address. Go ahead.
I'm here against the item 4A. I want to tell you that some of the things that are in there are fine. One is removing of the name. The name was established by your predecessors back in 1996. And Wilbur Bell was an original of this board. If we have a problem with someone in the board, you have the authority, you have the power, remove them from the, or revoke them, because we have had honorable people in this board, in the community council board. We've had the Honorable Cabrera, Dariel Fernandez, tax collector, and they all served in the board. Mr. Cabrera was appointed in 2015 and then got reelected in 2016. I myself was elected. My love is for my community, and I don't know why we're even here. This legislation should have been something else. I'm community council board member, Westchester 10105. We should be here having a legislation to remove the person that everybody knows who it is that has created this upon all of us. We do not get paid. We go free. We leave our families at 6 o'clock every time there's a meeting. We waste our gas. We waste our time. And we all do it for the love of our community. And I asked you, Mr. Chair, as my district commissioner, I know that you know that I'm love for my community. And I thank you very much for your time. God bless you all.
Thank you, Mr. Camacho. My constituent. Go ahead, Ms. Waters.
Mary Waters, 13600 Southwest 229 Street. I am as the gentleman next to me, we are both past community council members. I have Council 14, Redland area. You've also heard from 3 other people that are current Community Council 14 members. They do a fine job. I would not even think that their ethics are not the way they should be. This ordinance, 4A, is basically what this gentleman just said, is a waste of time that we're wasting to spend on this. If there are some bad eggs in the batch, then that needs to be sought after. To nominate members to what is and has been since 1986, I believe it is, 96, pardon me, 96, to start appointing them, I think it stacks the deck just a little bit. The opportunity is there. You need to let the public that is in that area be the ones that make that decision. As he was also saying, we do this for free. It costs us money to be board members. The work that we do, the inspections of these properties that are being presented to the community councils, and in fact, even the counties spent thousands of dollars on 2 full pages of ad in the Miami Herald recently for filling all these vacancies that are out there. I have had a letter before the county since August the 13th of last year applying for an at-large position on the Planning Advisory Board. I would, Mr. Chair, I would really appreciate you listening because you would be the one that has to do this.
We're all listening.
I have a letter in front of, it has been submitted 3 different times with my letter of request to be appointed to the PAB. My CV was provided. The clerk of the court has seen that back last August, and I've had absolutely no communication and from your office directly. I have reached out to your staff, and I get nowhere with that. There are, in my knowledge, at least still 2 at-large positions available. I represent Redland, Southwest Dade. Currently, the PAB has
Thank
no
you, Ms.
one
Waters.
on that board that does that. Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. I have Stanley Young and Vice Mayor Porras. Vice Mayor, as you approach, please make sure you speak on the item you signed up, not on solid
Chairman,
waste.
that's actually something, we got confused, so we put me under another item, so I'm just going to withdraw that request, since I understand the rules. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Vice Mayor. All right, and then Stanley Young. Mr. Young,
Good morning, Commissioners.
name and address. You got 2 minutes, my friend.
Okay. Let's propose a compromise of this particular item 4A. I'm very much activated in my community. I want our voice to be brought toward you to make the final decision. I don't think it's really right to really kind of end because you have the power to restructure any board, any community activity. And this is the compromise that I hope that you would consider to rethink, you know, if someone is not doing what they needed to do in the community, hey, let's change them out and get someone else there who are better to represent that community. You know, we don't want to burn any bridges between the community and the government. We need those bridges so you can get our ideas and our perspective on our community. So that is the compromise that I will propose today, that we don't eliminate, but we restructure. We restructure a lot of our community activity that we need to get funded and get passed. So that's my proposal today. I hope you would consider a restructure idea to really keep a lot of our community activities, our community boards going forward. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you, Mr. Young. All right, that's all the speakers I have signed up to speak under reasonable opportunity. I would like to take a second and recognize our tax collector, Dariel Fernandez. Is he here? Also known as Kevin Cabrera, according to our state attorney, yeah. Dariel Fernandez has a public announcement that he is going to make. Mr. Tax Collector, please keep it to about a minute.
Good morning.
And don't ask for more money.
No. I don't go, don't be afraid. I don't go in today.
Oh, we're afraid. We are afraid.
Don't be afraid.
We live in
Mr.
fear.
Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Recognize.
Thank you, Vice Chairman. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to say thank you, all of you, because for the first time in the history of Miami-Dade County, the Office of the Tax Collector going to start, we already start processing driver license across the street. So that is a thank you for the wonderful work that we do together in this transition. And this is the only thing that I wanted to express to you today. Thank you, all of you. Thank you also to my amazing team that made this possible. So if you have any issue with your driver license for the first time in the history of Miami-Dade County and the Tax Collector Office, thank you to all of you. Thank you to my team. Thank you to the state. We're going to start processing driver license in our office across the state. So thank you.
Thank you, Tax Collector.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you for coming out and letting everybody know they can expedite their driver's license now under Dario Fernandez's regime. All right. Reasonable opportunity is now closed officially. Madam Attorney, is it in order to set the agenda at this time?
Yes, it is.
All right. Do we have a motion to set the agenda?
Well, but I have some preliminary matters first.
Why was there a pause, Madam Attorney? You see how that goes? And go ahead and read all your preliminary matters into the records.
Okay. The first one is from Commissioner Higgins. It's item 2B1. She's adding this item to the pull list. That's item 2B1, Commissioner Higgins. 2B5 and its supplement, Commissioner Gilbert and Commissioner Higgins are adding this item to the pull list. 3B1, Commissioner Bermudez adds this item to the pull list. 8M1 and its supplement, Commissioner McGee is adding this item to the pull list for an amendment. 8P2, Commissioner Cabrera adds this item to the pull list for an amendment. 8P3, Commissioner Higgins adds this item to the pull list. 11A2, Commissioner Bermudez adds this item to the pull list. 11A6, Commissioner Bermudez, Commissioner Higgins, and Commissioner Gilbert add this item to the pull list. 11A13, Commissioner Regalado adds this item to the pull list. 11A19 and 11A20, Commissioner Bermudez is adding these items to the pull list. I also have some additional requests for co-sponsorship. Item 4E, Commissioner Gilbert. 11A3, Commissioner Bermudez. 11A16 and 11A19, Commissioner Gilbert. And 11A23, Commissioner Steinberg. The items to be considered at today's meeting will be those listed in the printed final agenda with additions, deferrals, withdrawals, and Scrivener's errors noted in the chairman's memorandum and the items I just mentioned. The commission will approve all these items by a single vote setting the agenda except ordinances for first reading, public hearings, ordinances set for second reading. Item 8P1, a commercial service airport contract, which must be voted on separately and is not on your pull list, and the following pull list items. Item 2B1, 2B5 and its supplement, 3B1, 8M1 and its supplement, 8P2, 8P3, 11A2, 11A6, 11A13, 11A19, and 11A20. A motion to set the agenda is in order.
All right, it's been moved by the Vice Chair. It's been seconded by Commissioner Bastien. All in favor of setting
Wait,
the agendas?
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Commissioner Hardiman. You're recognized on the setting of the agenda.
thank you. I didn't catch it, but the item where there is a request for the moratorium on annexations, is that included in the pull list?
That's a second reading item, so it will be taken up separately. It's item 7A, I believe.
Thank you.
All right. Seeing no further discussion on the setting of the agenda, all in favor of setting the agenda signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. Show the agenda hereby set.
Mr. Chair, I have some matters which we can dispense with quickly. The first one is the aviation item, item 8P1.
Move it.
Okay. It's been moved. It's been seconded.
It was moved by Gilbert, seconded by Higgins.
Here, can you take over really quick?
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Against? Seeing the item passes. Thank you.
And also, I have two other quick ones.
Madam Attorney, just give me one moment. Commissioner Cabrera. No problem. Madam Attorney.
Yes, Commissioner Cabrera would like to just amend item 8P2. I can read it quickly.
Please.
The amendment would be that the Board of County Commissioners directs the mayor or mayor's designee to execute a contract extension with NNK Enterprises on contract number E10-521 for janitorial services for Miami International Airport, Zone 3, under the existing terms and conditions, subject to the following terms. The extension shall be for 1 month with an option for 1 additional month to allow for the transition of services to the successful contractor, shall obligate NNK Enterprises to bill no more than $368,903 per month, inclusive of costs, shall be terminated for convenience upon the transition of services to the successor contractor, and upon the county mayor filing with the clerk of the board a waiver of formal bid procedures pursuant to Section 503D of the Home Rule Charter and non-competitive bid waiver provisions of Section 2-8.1B of the Code. In the event that the mayor designee cannot negotiate such an extension, the mayor designee shall provide a report at the next available airport committee. This board finds that an extension is in the best interest of the county and that the failure to extend this contract pending award of and transition to a successor contract creates risks to human health and materially impairs the county's operations.
Thank you, Madam Attorney. Commissioner Cabrera, would you like to speak on the item?
Sure, Mr. Vice Chair. So this is a simple extension that the county attorneys actually came to us and procurement that we needed to make sure that in this transition that we don't stay without anybody. Similar to the ones we did on other contracts last meeting on 8P2.
Second.
Yeah, this is not 8P3. This is 8P2, where we're going with the recommendation of the mayor, but you needed an extension to make sure we have a bridge between now and when those new contracts begin.
Second.
Thank you. Hearing that the motion has been seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
All against? Motion passes. Next, Madam Attorney.
Yes, Mr. Vice Chair, 8M1 was just pulled so that it could be amended as stated in the supplement. If there's a motion to amend as stated in the supplement, that'd be appropriate?
Yes. Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I got it. Thank you, Madam Attorney. 8M1 members basically addresses my concerns. It's the substitute that we remove the actual fleet, and I do believe the administration is okay with that.
Can we move it? Yeah, move it.
Move it. It's been moved.
Move it. I move it.
It's been moved by Commissioner Gilbert. It's been seconded by the Vice Chair. All in favor? I just sat back in my chair, so is this amended? As amended, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. All right, show the item passed as amended. All right. Commissioner Gilbert, you're recognized for a motion.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you for recognizing me. Last year, we passed an urging to the legislature on the future of a Florida Museum of Black History, asking that they actually select Opalaka as the official site. It's a process that the governor and the legislature actually created. They're in that process right now, and that bill is coming up. So as the Florida legislature prepares to select the site during the upcoming legislative session, I move to reaffirm Miami-Dade County support for the city of Opalaka to house the Florida Museum of Black History. I further move to urge the legislature to select Opalaka as the official site and direct the county state lobbying team to mobilize and advocate for such action.
Second. It's been moved by Commissioner Gilbert, seconded by Commissioner Cabrera. Any discussion on this motion?
I just want-
Vice Chair, you recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Gilbert, I would like to co-sponsor this. Thank you.
Show the Vice Chair co-sponsoring the motion alongside Commissioner Cabrera and Commissioner Gonzalez and Cohen Higgins. Any other co-sponsors? Seeing none. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. Show the motion passed. Commissioner Cabrera, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick moment of personal privilege. Commissioner Higgins has the great work that she's able to do with housing in her district. We don't, unfortunately, have as much land in ours, but we have 10A1, which I didn't pull, but I did want to make a comment on it and congratulate Director Bayin and his team and Commissioner Reyes from the City of Miami Congresswoman Salazar were able to do over 60 units in our district. Again, it's not something we're able to do often due to land constraints, but we're happy that we got a project going. So hopefully we can keep learning from Commissioner Higgins over here.
Thank you, Commissioner Cabrera, for that recognition. Any other motions off the dais? Seeing none, all right, Madam Attorney, what's appropriate at this time? First reading items?
Yes. 4A is an ordinance relating to community councils and zoning in the unincorporated area and to the conflict of interest and code of ethics ordinance, amending Article 4 of Chapter 20, Article 36 of Chapter 33, and Section 2-11.1 of the code, changing the name of and manner of designating the community councils and community zoning appeals boards, further specifying the functions, responsibilities, duties, and authority of these boards, providing regulations pertaining to conduct of members of such boards, revising the manner in which such board members are selected prospectively, clarifying prohibition on use of certain terms in reference to title of office for such board members, providing that when such board members exceed the scope of code-prescribed duties, responsibilities, and authority, such conduct constitutes exploitation of official position under certain circumstances, providing for removal of such board members under certain circumstances, in addition to any other applicable penalties, making technical and conforming changes, providing severability, inclusion in the code, and an effective date. 4B is an ordinance relating to the Public Health Trust, approving staggered 10-year expiration dates of certain trustees, providing severability, exclusion from the code, and an effective date. 4C is an ordinance relating to the Public Health Trust, amending Sections 25A-4 and 25A-5 of the Code, modifying policies and directives requiring compliance, making technical revisions regarding limitations on the contractual powers, modifying threshold amount for compliance with Section 2-11.16 of the Code for certain contracts, modifying classified service exemptions, modifying private donation limits for certain construction projects, modifying internal audit reporting intervals, modifying location of budget hearings, modifying certain operational statistics, reporting intervals, modifying deadlines, special meeting and delivery requirements for audited financial reporting, providing severability, inclusion in the code, and an effective date. 4D is an ordinance relating to the rules of procedure of the Board of County Commissioners, amending Section 2-1 of the code, providing for electronic delivery of agenda items to commissioners, providing severability, inclusion in the code, and an effective date. 4E is an ordinance relating to required real estate appraisals whenever the county purchases, sells, or is involved in a lease of real estate as a lessor or lessee, amending Section 2-10.4.2 of the code to permit the Board of County Commissioners to waive such requirements without a recommendation of the county mayor, providing severability, inclusion in the code, and an effective date. 4F substitutes an ordinance approving, adopting, and ratifying fiscal year 2023-24 end-of-year supplemental budget adjustments and amendments for various county departments and funds, amending ordinance numbers 23-76, 23-78, and 23-81 to make budget adjustments, ratifying and approving implementing orders and other board actions which set fees, charges, and assessments for fiscal year 2023-24, appropriating grant, donation, and contribution funds for fiscal year 23-24 in accordance with Section 2-1796D of the County Code, approving certain budgetary reallocations, providing severability, exclusion from the County Code, and an effective date. Those are your first reading items. I also have some requests to bifurcate. At the appropriate time, Commissioners Gilbert and Bermudez would like to bifurcate 4A, and Commissioner Regalado 4F substitute.
Okay, perfect. All right, any additional bifurcations? Seeing none, do I have a motion?
I move the rest, Mr. Chair.
All right, Commissioner Higgins moves the remaining. Commissioner Gilbert seconds them. Madam, any discussion? Well, no discussion on first reading, so Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
The clerk's office has received a memo that Senator Garcia will be absent from today's meeting.
Thank you.
Commissioner Bastien.
Yes.
Commissioner Bermudez. Commissioner Cabrera. Commissioner Cohen-Higgins.
4.
Commissioner Gilbert. Commissioner Gonzalez.
4.
Commissioner Hardiman. Commissioner Higgins.
Yes.
Commissioner Regalado.
Yes.
Commissioner Steinberg. Vice Chairman McGee.
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez.
I vote yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Commissioner Gonzalez moves item 4A, seconded by the Vice Chair. All in, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Bermudez.
For now, yes.
Commissioner Cabrera. Commissioner Cohen-Higgins.
No.
Commissioner Gilbert.
No for now.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
4.
Commissioner Hardiman. Commissioner Higgins.
No for now.
Commissioner Regalado.
No.
Commissioner Steinberg. Commissioner Bastien,
No for now.
Vice Chairman McGee,
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez.
I vote yes.
Motion fails 5-7.
All right, show item 4A failed. All right,
Moment, if I may.
it's a first reading item.
Yeah, just, there is work that needs to be done on these to get them to have a quorum. So I think you're headed in the right direction,
Commissioner
Cox.
Higgins.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, can I answer to that, sir?
No, I should not. Commissioner Higgins knows better than to do what she just did. No, the answer is no. I love you all, a little bit sometimes, a lot other days. Right now, a little bit. 4E substitute is moved by.
4F substitute.
4F, okay, I had drawn a little line over it, so 4F substitute is moved by the Vice Chair, seconded by Commissioner Gilbert. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Cabrera. Commissioner Cohen-Higgins.
4.
Commissioner Gilbert. Commissioner Gonzalez.
4.
Commissioner Hardiman. Commissioner Higgins. Commissioner Regalado.
No.
Commissioner Steinberg. Commissioner Bastien. Commissioner Bermudez. Vice Chairman McGee.
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez.
I vote yes.
Motion passes 11-1.
Show the item passed. All right, Madam Attorney, can we move into public hearing items?
Yes. Item 5A is an ordinance providing for issuance of additional Miami-Dade County, Florida Public Facilities Revenue Bonds, Jackson Health System pursuant to ordinance number 0549 as amended by ordinance number 1701, in aggregate principal amount not to exceed $550 million in one or more series for purposes together with other available monies of public health trust, if any, of paying or reimbursing public health trust for costs of certain capital additions to public health trust facilities, funding debt service reserve fund and paying cost of issuance, including cost of credit facility and reserve facility, if any, providing that such bonds shall be secured by and payable from gross revenues of public health trust on parity with other outstanding public facilities revenue bonds, Jackson Health System, providing that details of said bonds be determined in one or more subsequent resolutions, amending certain provisions of ordinance number 0549 as previously amended by ordinance number 1701, providing severability exclusion from the code and an effective date. 5B is an ordinance creating and establishing a special taxing district in the county, generally bounded on the north by theoretical Southwest 20th Street, on the east by Southwest 154 Avenue, on the south by Southwest 20 Lane, and on the west by Southwest 155 Avenue, known and described as Century Heights Street Lighting Special Taxing District, identifying services to be provided, authorizing and directing the mayor designee to provide for the installation of streetlights, approving a street lighting agreement with Florida Power and Light, and authorizing the mayor designee to execute the agreement, waiving provisions of resolution number R-13006, and providing for exclusion from the code and an effective date. 5B1 is the corresponding resolution approving, adopting, and confirming a preliminary assessment rule for the district. 5C is an ordinance creating and establishing a special taxing district in the county, generally bounded on the north by Southwest 280th Street, Walden Drive, on the east by Southwest 149 Avenue, on the south by Southwest 282 Street, and on the west by Southwest 150 Avenue, known and described as Habitat Acres, subdivision, multipurpose maintenance, and street lighting special taxing district, identifying services to be provided, authorizing and directing the mayor designee to cause to be maintained and operated various public improvements, and to provide for the installation of streetlights, approving a street lighting agreement with Florida Power and Light, and authorizing the mayor designee to execute the agreement, waiving provisions of resolution number 13006, and providing for exclusion from the code and an effective date. 5C1 is the corresponding resolution approving, adopting, confirming the preliminary assessment rule for the district. 5D is an ordinance creating and establishing a special taxing district in the county, generally bounded on the north by Southwest 344 Street, Palm Drive, on the east by Southwest 167 Avenue, Tennessee Road, Southeast 12th Avenue, on the south by Southwest 352 Street, Southeast 32 Street, and on the west by theoretical Southwest 168 Avenue, known and described as St. Germain Assemblage Multipurpose Maintenance Special Taxing District, identifying services to be provided, authorizing and directing the mayor designee to cause to be maintained and operated various public improvements, and providing for exclusion from the code and an effective date. 5E is a resolution approving the plat of Century Oasis Estates. 5F is a resolution approving the plat of Century Heights. 5G is a resolution approving the waiver of plat of Ivan Tupusov. 5H is a resolution approving the waiver of plat of Modern Design Miami Corp. 5I is a resolution approving the waiver of plat of Susan Claire LLC. 5J is a resolution approving the plat of Metro Grand Subdivision. 5K is a resolution approving the waiver of plat of SOID Realty and Investment Properties, Inc. 5L is a resolution authorizing issuance of not to exceed $250 million of Miami-Dade County, Florida Public Facilities Revenue and Revenue Refunding Bonds for the Jackson Health System in one or more series. Those are your public hearing items.
Thank you, Madam Attorney. We have one speaker signed up for public hearing, Mr. Roy Hardiman. Mr. Hardiman? You're good? All right. Shown withdrawn. So then public hearing is now closed. Anyone wish to bifurcate any of the items? Any bifurcations?
Move them.
All right, it's been moved by Commissioner Regalado, seconded by the Vice Chair. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Cohen-Higgins.
For.
Commissioner Gilbert. Commissioner Gonzalez. Commissioner Hardiman. Commissioner Higgins. Commissioner Regalado.
Yes.
Commissioner Steinberg. Commissioner Bastien.
Yes.
Commissioner Bermudez. Commissioner Cabrera. Vice Chairman McGee.
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez.
I vote yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right. Madam Attorney, is it in order to go into second reading items now?
Yes, there are two. 7A is an ordinance relating to annexations and incorporations, suspending consideration of certain proposed annexations and incorporations, creating Section 20-10 of the Code, providing time period for expiration of annexation applications, providing for exemptions, requiring a report, providing severability, inclusion in and exclusion from the code, and an effective date. And 7B is an ordinance relating to zoning, amending Section 33-193.9 of the Code, amending provisions related to the Voluntary Workforce Housing Development Program, revising the formula for the contribution payment in lieu of construction for single-family residential neighborhoods, providing severability, inclusion in the code, and an effective date, and its supplement. And Mr. Chair, I have a request to bifurcate 7A by Commissioners Gonzalez and Commissioner Bermudez.
All right, Bermudez and Gonzalez. All right, sounds good. So we'll just take up each item individually. No one wants to bifurcate 7B, right? Because it's the only other item.
No.
All right, so it's been moved. 7B has been moved by Commissioner Cabrera, seconded by the Vice Chair. Yes, Commissioner Regalado, you're recognized.
Thank you.
7B.
Oh, 7B, I thought we were
Yes.
doing 7.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll on 7B.
Commissioner Gilbert. Commissioner Gonzalez. Commissioner Gonzalez. Commissioner Hardiman. Commissioner Higgins. Commissioner Regalado. Commissioner Steinberg. Commissioner Bastien.
Yes.
Commissioner Bermudez.
Yes.
Commissioner Cabrera. Commissioner Cohen-Higgins. Vice Chairman McGee.
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez.
I vote yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Commissioner Bermudez, you're recognized as one of the pooling commissioners on 7A.
Yeah, I have a friendly amendment, obviously, or an amendment to the proposal. We had previously discussed two areas that were in my district, three areas actually, but two in particular that are a part of this item, and one is Area 6 and that one is Area 15. A number of meetings ago, probably about a year ago, we had requested the numbers of one of the largest corporate parks that the county has, which is Flagler Station, which is Area 6. So you should have a copy of my proposed amendment, which essentially keeps Area 15 for consideration, despite the fact that there's already been a survey of the businesses and the response was in the negative. But that is an area that abuts another city, which abuts Medley. So I don't have a problem with that. But Area 6 is, to be consistent with the proposal from Commissioner Cabrera, Area 6 is a large industrial park that has proffers a substantial amount of money to the county. And since I do share his concerns moving forward that there's been a lot of annexations, but they've been primarily just for the let's call it the corporate and industrial parks. I would my amendment would be removing Area 6 and maintaining Area 15 if the maker of the proposal accepts it.
Commissioner Cabrera, is that a friendly amendment?
Yes.
All right, show the item amended with a friendly amendment by Commissioner Bermudez. Commissioner Gonzalez, you're recognized as another pooling commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And, I had a lot of folks from municipalities reach out to me. And, I heard from a lot of municipal leaders on this item, and I appreciate each and every one of them. I understand your advocacy for your municipalities and for your constituents. And that's why I'm going to ask when I vote in favor of this, that you understand when I advocate for my constituents. And Mr. Chair, I want to thank Kevin Cabrera for bringing this item, because this is a long-standing issue that goes back to the 1960s. I mean, we still have large areas in the county that, for one reason or another, as you would know, Mr. Chair, are 100% unincorporated Miami-Dade, and that's my area, 100% UMSA. So, you know, because my entire area is unincorporated Miami-Dade, and when I hear a quote from the administration, from the mayor, that says the cumulative impact of annexations will require the county to either adjust the services in the unincorporated area, including critical services such as public safety, parks, public works, or to increase the millage rate in the unincorporated municipal area, I am not, you can't ask me to have folks in Miami-Dade County have their taxes raised because you want to annex more. And I need you to understand my position. I understand your position. I applaud you for advocating for your constituents, but I would be remiss if I don't advocate for my constituents and for the people of Miami-Dade County. We cannot, in good conscience, raise taxes, raise the millage rate, and raise fees for folks because cities want to annex more. At the very minimum, we need to put a pause to it now, as we have this issue with constitutional officers, figure out where we're at, and once that time passes, we can come back responsibly and fiscally prudent for the residents of Miami-Dade County. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Well stated, Commissioner Gonzalez. I think you and I both share the only two districts that are 100% unincorporated in Dade County. Commissioner Regalado, you're recognized.
Thank you. This is for a friendly amendment. Commissioner Cabrera, would you be open to changing it so that it includes all residential zoning? Because it specifically has one type of residential zoning, but there's other residential zoning, so.
Yeah, Abby actually brought that to our attention earlier, so yes.
All right, so show Commissioner Cabrera accepting that friendly amendment. Would you like to read the amendment, Abby?
Yes, and Commissioner Regalado, just to see if this is acceptable to you, there's in section 2 of the ordinance at MDC 009, there's a phrase that says any proposed annexation that entirely consists of RU-zoned unincorporated areas, but not including RU5A, shall be exempt from this moratorium. This could be revised to instead say any proposed annexation that entirely consists of any county zoning district that exclusively allows residential uses, including but not limited to RU-zoned unincorporated areas, but not including RU5A, shall also be exempt from this moratorium.
Thank you, Abby. Is that the motion?
That would include, for example, the EU zoning
EUs,
districts.
right.
But it would not include a mixed-use zoning district. It would just
So item
be-
7A amended per that motion by Commissioner Regalado. Commissioner Hardiman, you're recognized.
Thank you. I'm not necessarily in favor of a moratorium, just yet. I mean, I haven't seen significant facts to establish that a moratorium is needed necessarily. However, that may be the will of the body. But I do know that within my district, where I do share municipalities and also some unincorporated areas, there has been a concerted effort in my district for the incorporation of certain areas for a number of years, even preceding my coming to this dais. And so I believe in our districts, the constituencies deserve the opportunity to manifest the destiny that they want for their area. If it includes the increase of taxes, I mean, that's their decision to make. And with that being said, what I would like is for an amendment to this item so that it also includes the areas to be excluded, to include the unincorporated areas of District 3. So right now we have like an area, I think they call it MAC, but I'd like to expand to the unincorporated areas. And the reason why is because in the unincorporated areas of District 3, we have some significant historical markers, places, and areas that would like to be included that may be expanded from the MAC so that it is included within the areas that can be incorporated if they choose to incorporate themselves.
Commissioner Cabrera.
Thank you, Commissioner Hardeman. And unfortunately, I can't accept that amendment, but I do want to start off with talking about why we're here. We saw a report from Mayor Cava back in July of last year that talked about, I think Commissioner Gonzalez might have referenced it, the implications that a lot of these annexations in industrial and commercial areas might have to our millage rate in terms of us having to raise ours. Not so much the areas, listen, if they want to self-tax, that might be fine, but a lot of those areas fund the services for the rest of the county, particularly obviously the sheriff's budget, the public safety budget. I think it's over 65% comes from these areas. We've had numerous, what?
Over 70%.
Over 70%, I stand corrected. But again, we thank the mayor for her memo, and we thank Richard Cooper also from the League of Cities, where we had numerous conversations. I think in 24 hours we had like 4. I wish I could accept your amendment. Unfortunately, I disagree with it, but nonetheless, I thank you for making it. And again, it's about the financial health of the county and making sure that we don't have to raise the millage rate here.
Commissioner Hardeman, you're recognized.
Yeah, surely we're all concerned about the financial health of the county, but sometimes we wear more than one hat. One hat we wear is for the county's fiscal responsibility, and for instance, we instituted some Doge-like implementations to help with that, despite that it's going to cost us a little bit more money. And additionally, when we're talking about how this community grows, who are we to decide the unincorporated area's destiny as far as what cities and how cities will grow? If not for the incorporation process, the city of Doral would not be here. And so we would not have the mayors and the council people arguing for us to remove this incinerator from this area, but yet and still it is here. They generate taxes, they pay those taxes happily. And so in other areas where they don't have the sort of representation that they deem necessary, they wish to have some incorporation. That does not mean that it passes. We've seen efforts in the South, we've seen efforts in the Northeast where this does not pass. It also doesn't mean that we necessarily approve of whatever that is, but to take someone's voice from them, I think is a grave mistake. And I'm not asking you to do something in an area that involves your constituency. I'm asking you to do something in an area that involves mine. And so in my constituency, where we do utilize many of these services, the cities that are near it will be the city of Miami, which maintains its own police department. And then you have an unincorporated area that uses, of course, Miami-Dade County. And depending on how it goes, that same area could continue to use Miami-Dade County. And the sheriff's department wouldn't be at a loss. And so, these are friendly amendments I'm asking that we make to respect our district the same way you're asking us to respect your district. The areas that are all unincorporated that you represent, you want to maintain service level. And for some reason, we believe that just because we make changes to municipal boundaries or create new cities, of which we have 34 in Miami-Dade County, that it means there's a loss of Miami-Dade County. The gain, if you incorporate, the idea of it is that you have greater representation. You have more voice, right? When you advocate to not only the city that you are a part of, because you're closer to that city, but also Dade County. If not a friendly amendment, I would actually ask this board to make the amendment for me through, unfortunately, what would be called a hostile amendment. I will move that we make the amendment to this item to include what I've stated on the record.
Commissioner Cabrera.
So this doesn't prevent a city from incorporating. If folks want to incorporate and have a millage of 12% or 12 mills, they can do that. What this gives is a voice. Ultimately, commercial areas and industrial areas don't have a voice, right? They don't get to vote in these sorts of incorporations. So if a city would like to incorporate in their residential area, like it has in the code, you'd still be able to incorporate and create your city. This is for commercial and industrial areas. Again, we exempted as well. We're areas that are already in the process because we didn't want to change the rules if you're in the middle of the process either. That's why certain areas were exempted. It wasn't to pick and choose which districts we help or not. It was just if you already have an application in, it's not, it wouldn't be proper to change the rules in the middle of the game. But again, you'd still be allowed to incorporate if it's a residential area. If it's a residential area, again, and the residents are in favor of it. But again, the commercial and industrial areas, which ultimately never have a voice because they don't ever have a voice in voting this unless it's unless you do a straw poll like we did in ours, and the majority of them never want to, because their taxes are going to go up if you're in a commercial and industrial area, because all of the cities have a higher millage rate than the county. So ultimately, they do go up. So again, it's about if you're a residential area, you can still incorporate, you can still decide your own destiny, self-tax at whatever millage rate it might be. But the industrial and the commercial areas are the ones that wouldn't be a part of it.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Hardiman, you're
Thank you.
recognized, but we gotta not continue this back and forth at some point.
we're trying to at least come to some peace about this. What is a community if it does not have commercial and industrial sort of applications in their city, right? There are cities in Broward County I can think of that lack that, and they suffer because of it. And so I understand the problem that we've had is that we've allowed the incorporation of purely sort of commercial areas that just add to the coffins, if you will, of certain areas. That's not what I'm saying here. What I'm saying is that there is a mix, right? You may have an area that includes some that has residential, but may include some industrial or some commercial as well. I'm not saying purely this, but saying that mix is important to incorporating a particular city. And so the exclusion that I'm asking for are for those sorts of areas in the district that I represent.
Commissioner Bermudez, you're recognized.
Let me just say a couple of things that are important. And Commissioner Hardiman pointed out the city of Doral, and he's correct. But I think we forget about the history of incorporations. There were no incorporations in Miami-Dade County subsequent to the Home Rule Charter. I think the last one before that was Virginia Gardens because they couldn't park their horses on the Circle in Miami Springs. And that was in the 50s. In those days, you would go, like the rest of the state, through your state representative. It only became an issue when Judge Robertson felt that there wasn't proper representation for African Americans and Hispanics on this dais. And Judge Robertson was correct. That's why we have the diversity we have here today, because all county commissioners were elected countywide, and there were not enough African Americans and Hispanics at the time to really be able to have fair representation on this dais. My own experience with incorporation was, I originally, when I lived in Miami Lakes, was really not supportive of it because I felt it was going to create another layer of government that wasn't necessary. Until in Royal Oaks, they stole my car from the front of the house, and it took me 2 weeks to talk to a police officer. When I moved to Doral, my colleague and friend and the first mayor of Palmetto Bay, Gene Flynn, asked me to talk to Morgan Levy and Jesse Jones and some members of the West Aid Federation. And when I moved there, I realized that there were no parks. There were no, only one school. The streets weren't getting fixed. And the tax dollars that we were paying into the county were not coming back. So I do think, and it was a very difficult vote, none of us were here, but it took me and others from the city of Doral getting insulted by some of the then Board of County Commissioners because the vote didn't pass unanimously. As a matter of fact, there were comments made, by some on the dais. And I want to thank Jose Pepe Cancio, who hopefully is watching, because he's really the one that was responsible for moving it, since he had been a community council member in Doral and was named by Governor Bush to be the interim commissioner. And he really was the one that spurred this process. Subsequent to that, we went through a lot of different steps with Miami-Dade County, including, and I know Commissioner Gilbert remembers this, going to court on 2 occasions to make sure that the new municipalities got some of the things that we deserved, including our share of the half-penny sales tax. But then, during this process, my predecessor violated all the rules of contiguity. And for those who don't know what contiguity is, if you're going to annex something, you're supposed to be by it. Jumping the 836 had never occurred, but it did. And it was wrong. And it was politics. And then, when the next step took place, which was another area that was between 2 municipalities, I had to go through the same process. The rules were changed at the last moment, and I thank Commissioner Cabrera for being historically accurate and pointing out to the fact that the rules were changed in the middle of the game from this dais. So I say that because I think, and I'm going to support the item because I think Commissioner Cabrera's intent is a good one. It's to face up to something that commissions from the time that Jimmy Morales was on this dais have kicked, I'm not going to say kicked down the can, because there were reports from the days of, in fact, I asked Mr. Morales the other day, where's the report that was supposed to be planned back in 2002 on what we're going to do with this county? Because the county is a rare animal. It's a county that has to, for incorporations, go through its Board of County Commissioners, which nobody else does. But we're going to have to ask ourselves the question, what is going to be the form of county government in the future? And I think what Commissioner Cabrera is saying, and I'm not going to speak for him, but I think his suggestion is there have been some serious changes, and we need to figure out what is the future of the structure of Miami-Dade County, whether it's going to be regional only, regional local. And I think that we're still going to need to get an answer to that question. Whether it's this board or future boards are going to have to make that decision. But the one thing that's clear is that when incorporations include only the corporate areas, then the answer to that question becomes progressively more difficult for us to deal with, because the city to the north of Doral now is bigger in its commercial area than it was 15 years ago. The millage rate is higher than the counties, and actually higher than Doral's. But the worst part is, and I was in front of some of you, not all of you, some of you, when I was, as the mayor of Doral, trying to get a fair shake, at least, not even if it went to Doral, but to have fair consideration of the business community, which is west of the Dolphin Mall, which in itself violated all the rules of annexation, of contiguity. The business owners didn't get a say, and that's a problem. They pay as much or more in taxes, and when I meant that they didn't get a say, they could have said, "I want to stay in the county." Telemundo wanted to say, "I want to stay in the county." They didn't necessarily say they want to be in Doral or Sweetwater, but they didn't get a say. So, I think that we're going to need to get eventually determine what type of county we want to be structured as. In the early 1960s, it was a metro form of government because that was what was happening across the country, and all the land, including many of the districts, District 8, District 9, District 10, were strawberry fields, were a bunch of other things, okay? But just like the famous urban development boundary, these things have to be revisited. So we're going to have to make that decision. And as I understand it, and I understand Commissioner Hardiman's concerns, and I do believe people should be able to, at the very least, have the opportunity to organize and move forward, as we did in Doral, which, by the way, made me a persona non grata for a long time. But I think that the reason that this is being proffered is because the time has come to take a very, very, very close look as to what type of structure we want to have in this county. And in order to do that, we need to figure out exactly what is coming and what is going. And as one of 3 former Miami-Dade County League of Cities presidents here, including Commissioner Gilbert and Commissioner Hardiman, I don't think any of us, there's no doubt that all of us were zealous advocates for not only our communities, for the League of Cities. And I do appreciate Director Cooper's comments at the committee. But what I think we need to do moving forward, again, is to really sit down and what is going to be our future. This would be step one. At some point, I may have to channel my inner Jimmy Morales and bring back a proposal that says, can we actually take a look at the form of government and the structure of government that we want to move forward with? There are many inequitable things in this process. Amongst them, by the way, that because we're the only true charter county, we get paid less than everybody else of equal or even a little bit less population in the rest of the state. But in order to change those things, we need to look ourselves in the eye and see what is it that we want to do moving forward. So I understand what Commissioner Cabrera is doing. I know that some of you maybe don't remember some of this history. Obviously, Commissioner Hardeman does, but I remember it distinctly because taking this position is not a position against moving forward and figuring out what's the best way to deal with our government moving forward. And if the best way forward is let's incorporate the whole county like Broward County did, then maybe that's what we need to do. We still have a county government because there's no way the cities are going to be able to carry out some of the things that a county government's able to do. So that is a discussion we're going to have someday. I forewarn you all, this is step number one, but we are going to have that discussion at some point. And I hope when we do, we understand that in order to avoid the unincorporated areas getting taxed more, when there are incorporations, then we have to, at the very least, take our time to study what's coming in and what's going out as we move forward.
Commissioner Gilbert, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, let me say there's some assumptions that we make about annexations that aren't necessarily true. And so I brought an annexation to this board, and Miami Gardens annexed was largely industrial area, as a matter of fact, all industrial area. And it actually, UMSA gained money because of it. In other words, it was an industrial area, but it was still, wasn't net positive on the UMSA's budget spreadsheet. So it was actually a good annexation that actually helped UMSA's finances. So when we generalize and we talk about industrial areas, generally speaking, we do want cities do want industrial areas because in a perfect world, they require fewer services. And what's going on in those industrial areas, it's better for tax revenue. It just is. But that isn't always true. That's the first thing. I'm sympathetic to Commissioner Hardeman's idea about self-determination. I do believe, however, that we need to look at the health of this county long term. We've been kind of, Raquel has been talking about this for a while. So you don't have to say that you've been talking about it for a while now. I said it for you. Okay. Yeah, she's been talking about this for a while. We have to, and I think Commissioner Bermudez is right. The structure might actually be something to do with that. I was wondering if there could be a compromise between the sponsor of the item and Commissioner Hardeman, not as to the areas, but as to the amount of time for the moratorium. Because right now, how long is it for? 5 years. So reduce it to 4 years.
Commissioner Cabrera, Commissioner Hardeman, does that give you some peace of mind?
It's better, but what you should understand is that this subject area that I'm describing has been subject to moratoriums at least 4 or 5 different times, and is the reason why they haven't been able to really achieve their mission over the last 20 years. So this starts under Barbara Carey Schuler, the first moratorium, and then it continues through Commissioner Edmondson, and then now we're adding additional time. And so that's the difficulty in this for this area. And I will say, when you talk about the Brownsville area is a historic area. They have always produced great leadership and have represented their unincorporated area of Miami-Dade County very well. However, the area has suffered, and what makes it worse is that the industrial areas that near Brownsville are in even worse conditions. And so anyone who drives westbound on Northwest 46th Street, you don't have to go very far to see the deleterious effects of not having representation in these areas. Miami-Dade County has facilities on Northwest 46th Street. I think it's a water and sewer department, something of that nature. That's probably the best looking building there. Other than that, the streets are in terrible shape. The avenues are in terrible shape. And I think that the neighborhood that surrounds it wants to put a better finger on how you control this. And so I think what I'm asking for is not something that would derail the intention of this item. I think it just gives a bit more precariousness to how we consider this thing. In fact, This is just one of those things, as we described in the Doge-like item. You're taking my seasoned salt. I'm asking you not to take my seasoned salt, right? The seasoned salt is what we need to ensure that this area is sufficient.
Thank you, Commissioner Hardiman. Commissioner Bastian, and then we'll come full circle. We'll come full circle back to the sponsor and Commissioner Gilbert. Commissioner Bastian has been patiently waiting.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I too do understand Commissioner Cabrera's concerns about the financial consequences of annexation. And I'd like to thank you, Commissioner Cabrera, for carving out the MAC. However, holding all annexations for 5 long years may have financial consequences for some cities in my district. As you know, District 2 has unincorporated areas, but I also have several cities. I have part of the city of Miami, city of North Miami, Biscayne Garden, Opaloka, and then I've received calls about that. So my friendly amendment to you, Commissioner Cabrera, would be, because 5 years is too long, especially when I have 2 of these cities have already came to me requesting, support for annexation. So I would submit a friendly amendment for 3 years versus 5, and I think this is reasonable. That could allay some of, allay some of my concerns. I don't know if it will totally satisfy my colleague Hardiman. Thank you.
Commissioner Steinberg, you're recognized.
Thank you. I've been listening, and I really appreciate and commend where the sponsoring commissioner is coming from. And there are a lot of really good points that are being made, but for my district, it doesn't make sense for me to support this at this time. I do believe that the financial mechanisms can be made on a case-by-case, and so for those reasons, I can't today support it, but I do understand where you're coming from.
Thank you, Commissioner Steinberg. Sponsoring Commissioner Cabrera.
Thank you. And to Commissioner Bastian and Commissioner Hardiman's questions and concerns, I think, possibly we could do 2 years for incorporations and 4 years for annexations. I don't know what your thoughts would be on that.
For me, the 3 would be.
You want to go up one more? Okay. All right, I'm ready to kind of take a roll call on this. So,
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Commissioner Bermudez, give me a second. Vice Chair, do you still need to get on the record? Because before, you haven't spoken, so I want to make sure that.
Yeah, it's more for clarification to the administration, because this is really going to hinge where my vote is going to hinge, right? Let me ask you this question. Commissioner Hardiman brought up a very technical request for an amendment, but it was more in depth as to his particular district. How large is the area that he's seeking to have added specifically to this item, just as it relates to his item and his request?
Jimmy, you're recognized.
The chair, Mr. Vice Chair, what I thought I heard was all the unincorporated areas in his district. Was that correct? I think is what I heard.
The entire Commissioner Hardiman.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was correct. Particularly, I'm really describing the western area of the district, particularly.
Vice Chair.
And thank you, Mr. Chairman, and to the administration. Well, I guess this question would go to Commissioner Hardiman, specifically looking at the western area of your district. Do we know the financial impact that would have on the entire county as it relates to the mayor's memo and her concerns?
Commissioner Hardiman.
We know not the financial impact any more than we know the financial impact of this. So there's not necessarily. What's interesting about that side of the district is that, for instance, if the city of Miami chose, because there's been conversation through the city of Miami about annexing westward, they will actually pick up the bill on a lot of the expenses that we have in Dade County. We know that these areas cost Miami-Dade County a lot more in services. You're talking police services, you're talking ambulatory services or fire rescue services, you're talking street cleaning services. I mean, so these are more difficult areas to manage. These are not areas that people wake up one day and say, hey, this is ideal to either incorporate or even annex. These are areas that when people have a history, I guess, of being in these spaces and they want to make these areas better, they take on the challenge. And so when I look at Brownsville Civic Association, for instance, and their desire to incorporate these areas, this is really out of the heart and sinew of trying to overcome the circumstances that they're placed in. And so I'm appreciative of that. This is not an area where the people who are trying to take advantage of it because it is a net benefit to their communities. This is a difficult area to serve. They want to make it better, and I really support the idea of at least having that conversation.
Thank you, Commissioner Hardiman. Commissioner
So
Cabrera, you're recognized to.
I'm going to amend my item and ask for a vote on it as amended for 2 years for incorporations and 4 years for annexation.
2 years incorporate. Okay, so show Commissioner Cabrera amending his own item, hoping that gives some others peace. With the Bermudez and the Regalado priorly stated amendments. I hate to do this because I do want to call a roll.
Yeah.
Are we still solving the problem though? So for example, like, can we add, or is it in there already, that we still need the county to come back with a report of a financial report showing the net positive or net?
We can absolutely add that. Request of the administration come back with a report regarding the net positive or net.
And it's not stating that shall it not be favorable, we don't hear it automatically, but at least we have that information and then we make that decision at that time.
Yeah. A report on annexations and incorporations.
Or does that happen already? I mean, I don't want to add something that's already the law of the land. Okay, all right, but let's, if possible, let's add it. Commissioner Bermudez, followed by Commissioner Regalado.
Mr. Chair, thank you.
Bermudez, this is like your third or fourth bite
No,
at
I
the
know,
apple.
but this one's
Keep it
important. This
very
one-
quickly, very quickly.
This one's important. Look, and I want to be clear on something because I've been on both sides, and I hate it when I'm accused of not doing my job. And my job here is to do what's in the best interest of the county and my district. Commissioner Gilbert made mention of what occurred in Miami Gardens, and he's correct. But when you have a full office park that's been built out, like Area 6, it will be a loss to Miami-Dade County. And there are people here from Doral that are going to hear a different story. Most of them, but not all of them, know my history. So I want to be clear on the record because I've been clear to the mayor and to the administration of the city of Doral about Area 6 and my reasoning for it. And if it was like it was in Miami Gardens, where there was the potential and the county had done nothing with it, then that might be a different story. But wearing my hat now as a county commissioner, I have to worry also about the whole county, not just about one of the 5 municipalities and/or the unincorporated areas of my district only. And I'm saying this publicly because I know that decision, and I appreciate Commissioner Cabrera accepting the amendment. While a tough one, I think it's in the best interest of the role that I fulfill today. And I want to leave that on the record so there's no confusion. Even though I've already said this privately, I will now say it publicly, and I encourage any of the Doral residents that want to ask me why to hang around after we discuss other things, and I'll be more than happy to answer.
Commissioner Regalado, you're recognized very quickly.
Yes, very quickly. I brought an item 2 years ago, almost 3, that prohibited the annexation of urban centers. And we were talking about the commitment that we've made and the investment that we've made in urban centers. I think Commissioner Hardiman brings up a good point in terms of infrastructure. And when we sit here as a board and discuss zoning and comprehensive master plan, one of the things that we've been able to change is the conversation about infrastructure as community benefit. So my request would be that when the administration comes back with information, that they provide information on infrastructure. infrastructure that's slated for that area and infrastructure that's needed. Our stormwater rules go into effect March 31st. You know, do they comply? Do they have water and sewer infrastructure to meet capacity? Do they have industrial and commercial areas that are on septic tanks, right? I think that changes the dynamic to Commissioner Hardiman's point. It may be an opportunity for a municipality to take on that infrastructure work and then potentially change the dynamic of the financial impact to UMSA.
All right, Madam Clerk, please call the roll. It's been moved by Commissioner
Second.
Cabrera with the amendments that he's accepted, seconded by Commissioner Cohen-Higgins. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
4.
Commissioner Hardiman, Commissioner Higgins, Commissioner Regalado,
Yes.
Commissioner Steinberg, Commissioner Bastien,
Yes.
Commissioner Bermudez,
Yes.
Commissioner Cabrera,
Yes.
Commissioner Cohen-Higgins,
4.
Commissioner Gilbert,
I vote yes.
Vice Chairman McGee,
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez.
I vote yes.
Motion passes 11-1.
Thank you. All right, Madam Attorney, can we move into the pool list, or do we have other items?
The pull list, the first item would be item 2B1.
Okay, I've got... Go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chair. To Lourdes and the team from RER and all the other teams, this has been a project I've been working on for 6 years to improve our permitting, and we have an annual report and the improvements in
Wait,
time.
which item is this, Commissioner? I'm sorry.
2B1. I think, is that the first one we're on?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hold that thought.
I got,
For some reason, when my staff starts to talk to me behind me, and I have a order of the day here, we're going to go ahead and take up item 11A19 first, which is my item, Madam Attorney.
Okay, then it'll be
Commissioner-
item 11A19.
Commissioner from the 12th District is the pooling commissioner.
Yeah, I just pulled it for discussion, and since we're talking garbage at some point today,
This is the time to discuss the garbage and trash talk.
look, you've seen my other proposals there. I'm not necessarily opposed to continually looking at the a review and analysis, but obviously, I would, and in particular, the part that I have no problem with is public-private partnerships, et cetera, because I don't know if we're ready to make a total elimination of moving forward, but I would like this not to preclude conversation on my proposal, which is coming up, which I don't think it does, but just to clarify, that that the resource recovery facility not go either in Medley, 58th, or in the city of Doral. So other than that, Mr. Chair, I don't have a problem with the analysis and the instruction to the mayor to include all the items that are in here.
Absolutely, Commissioner. And my intent, and I'm pretty sure it's what is clear in the item, is it does not discuss a location. This is just to explore all options that can exist. So not necessarily any of the locations. That we have other items that we'll be discussing about that here in a minute. But this is just to go explore and bring us back all the different options, both on waste to energy and on landfilling.
Mr. Chair, to the point that I believe that it's, look at all the options, I don't have a problem if you would accept it to co-prime the item.
Absolutely. Show Commissioner Bermudez co-priming the item. All right. Any
Move the
other
item.
discussion on 11A19?
Move the item.
Commissioner Gilbert moves it, seconded by, will you second it? Seconded by Commissioner Regalado. You have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you. And obviously, a lot of these items move together. I think that you and I covered a lot of similar ground in our two items. My question is really to the administration as these items move forward, because I really think we need to have a portfolio of options, and I think we need to diversify our funding for the department. So I just don't want to get like black and white thinking again. I feel like we've been given a lot of that. It's either or. And I just want, I know you've included like two here, but there's a combination of different things and what we're setting in motion. And then within that, there's different, opportunities, right? So I just want to make sure that that's kind of the direction. Once we put all these items together, I don't want one to be read like mutually exclusive of the other. So my only friendly amendment would be, to include all the other waste items, that they would have to consider all the other waste items that we're passing today, or that we've passed within this period.
I think that's appropriate, Commissioner Regalado. It's definitely my intent to do that. I also believe, and I don't know if it's appropriate to amend my item or what the body thinks, but I also feel that we need outside experts to professionally be retained outside of Arcadius, in addition to Arcadius, because we're not experts here. I don't believe, and I hope I'm proven wrong, but I don't believe anybody that currently is employed by the county has ever gone through this, because we haven't done this in 30 years or 40 years or 50. So I don't believe any current employee of the county has ever gone through this process. We have very bright minds. I say it all the time, and I mean it. It's not just a public statement or a PR statement. I really do believe we have very, very bright minds. But we have not gone through this process before. And there are many experts that have gone through this process nationwide. So why are we puzzling things together? Why are you bringing some items, which I commend you for, because at least you took initiative to do something, right? I'm bringing some, Bermudez has brought some, others have discussed other options. Why don't we bring in a professional? That Arcadius is not that. They did a report, they did their suggestions, but that I'm talking something different. Commissioner Regalado.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And my item that speaks specifically to the Arcadius contract kind of deals with that. They have some subcontractors that could bring us more information. I think in the case of how the scope was determined, they were pretty much given an end result and they backed up from that. So I think that they and their subcontractors can provide us with more information that looks at different options. I think they just started from a bias. I think that they were presented with a bias and they moved forward from that bias. But I agree with you. And by the way, we already approved a zero waste plan that's going to come to us. So there will be more voices that are going to be participating in this. And we have a solid waste master plan that has never been brought to this board, which we've complained about. So embedded in that are a series of other things that have been floating around since like 2013. So I think that, and my item provides 90 days for the administration to kind of come back with all these things and say, look, we're doing this, this is, what can be done, these are the different options. I think we've all looked at different places, but I think if at that point they can't come back with something that makes sense, then we do it again.
Just point of inquiry.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Point of inquiry.
Regalado.
What item are we on?
We're on 11-8-19.
11A19.
I know that it sounds like she went into other items, but that's why he's questioning
To
it.
be included,
That's
right?
why he's
That's all.
questioning.
I just want the other items to be included. That was my
Right.
friendly
I
amendment.
moved 11A19, I think. That's what I moved.
Okay, but really quickly, to Chief Coley, what is the plan on bringing in experts? Here's my fear, and this is a very bad example, but I'm gonna use a bad example. Is we cannot give the directive to go purchase land somewhere in Central Florida or in Florida. Our real estate experts aren't trash experts. So we go purchase this land, and obviously this is going to happen. This is not going to happen. But then we find out after we've purchased this land that it's a protected cemetery. And we can't build anything on it. And we can't do anything with it. That's what I want to prevent. That's a bad example. I think we would know that ahead of time. But things of that nature, examples such as that. Can we bring in experts that know what they're doing? Not our real estate, not ISD, not our real estate department. We don't have the expertise. It's not a knock on the county. We just have never done this. This county has never gone through this process. Chief.
Mr. Chairman, for the record, Roy Coley. We believe Arcadis is an expert in the field, but certainly if you would like some additional expertise, we could use Arcadis as an immediate vehicle to bring on subcontractors as expertise, such as Commissioner Regalado said, would be much quicker. If we went to procure a total separate expert, we wouldn't be back in 90 days, that's for sure.
The subs are fine. The subs are acceptable, but we need the right team here because
But we'll ask our
we haven't gotten anything. That's the thing. We really haven't got any full, comprehensive options. So hopefully that's what comes out of my item 11A19 and some of the other items that we're hearing here today. All right, Commissioner Gilbert moves the item. It's seconded by Commissioner Regalado.
As amended.
As amended. What was the amendment?
The amendment was that it would include all the other waste items that we passed, let's say, in the
Yes, of
last,
course.
in the last 45 days.
Yes, okay. Commissioner Cohen-Higgins, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for bringing this item, and thank you to the administration for all the work that they've done that has brought us here to date. I just want to understand what it is that we're doing and the timeframes, because the item currently says a report within 120 days. Commissioner from District 7 said, please include the host of items that were passed recently that had a whole suite of different options to consider. My concern is timing, because you, meaning the administration, is being asked to essentially explore every option and bring us back one comprehensive report that we will at some point utilize to make a final decision on this. But we are under deadlines. We are under insurance deadlines. We are under deadlines that are very real, that have very real financial consequences. And so my concern is we often send reports to the administration. It'll say 120 days, but the reality of actually generating the report that we are requiring or requesting requires far more time. I'm concerned that it's going to be 6 months before we get a report, and it's going to back us up against the February 2026 insurance deadline that we're already under one extension on. And so the question becomes, and for the tons of people that are here and come and visit us regularly, and thank you for continuously coming and visiting us on this critically important issue, we are once again not making a decision. We're putting it to a different time, sometime in the future. But I'm just wondering to the administration, are we actually going to have this comprehensive report within the 120 days that this item calls for? Because I do firmly believe that we have to make a decision in short order, the consequences of which I think we cannot afford in Miami-Dade County. So to the administration, can we actually get the report that's being requested within the 120 days?
Commissioner Cohen-Higgins, thank you for the question. If you remember in the previous committee meeting on the subject, I think there were about 10 directives assigned to the administration from the committee. And at that time, we did state that if we have all 10 directives, we may need more time than requested. We certainly are able to bring back at least a partial report within 120 days with all the information known to date. But some of these organizations that we anticipate will want to be heard are corporate organizations, and they're going to have to get corporate approvals for their final proposals and numbers, and that doesn't happen quickly. And so I don't think every option and every number is going to be available in 120 days, but we certainly can bring back all that is available.
So, Commissioner, Chief Coley, the commissioner brings up a good point, and you're right. We need to, because you added, as part of your amendment, Commissioner Regalado, some additional stuff. A lot of your items have 90 days per what you stated. Mine has 120 days. Are you willing to
Yes,
make it all 120?
I'm happy to do 120. And just to clarify a point, this board unanimously approved putting trash on trains, and we have a set price for 10 years. So we've already taken a bite out of a lot of these problems. The one deadline that we face is the insurance deadline. And what we do beyond that 5-10 year window, which is the items that we're discussing. So the urgency, is that February 2026 and what we can use that for. And we could always request that information sooner rather than later. But I'm happy to go from 90 to 120. I just want to make sure that we're including all the different things. Some of the stuff that I brought, we're doing, and we're just amplifying.
We got it. So
Right.
120 days instead of the 90. And then Commissioner Cohen-Higgins, you still have the floor? Okay. So Commissioner Gilbert?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the administration, through the chair, when I read the chairman's item, what I read it to say is, you all go actually bring us back something. So bring us back how each deal would look, so we could actually competently compare what it looks like to build a waste-to-energy facility versus
From A through Z.
yeah, bring us back. So I just want us to be clear about that, because sometimes when lawyers write something, they, Jimmy and all her lawyers went to Harvard, and so they yeah, Jerry, you can smile. It's okay. They're Ivy League and stuff, and so it's cool. But say it plain, make it clear. Don't come back with like this word salad thing that you do. I come back with, okay, we spoke with Florida Power and Light, and they said they could do this. They could do this on this site. They could do this on this site, compared to landfilling on this or this. I actually come back with something that we can actually compare, because we really do want to make a decision.
Correct. And Commissioner Gilbert, thank you. You're absolutely right. You said it best. My item is not a recommendation request. I'm not. Other items have been in the past. This isn't for the administration to bring us a recommendation. We've had that. A few versions of it. We don't want that. I wasn't being sarcastic. It's just we've had a few versions of that. This item is exactly what Commissioner Gilbert just stated. He said it best, is bring us all the options, then let us discuss it. And then put it on us. I'm happy to take the responsibility. We'll be the bad people. We'll be the bad guys. But bring us all of those options. Commissioner Cohen-Higgins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Gilbert, I'm going to be honest, it puts me a few steps back based on what you just said. And here's the reason why. Our private partners that are interested in this in one way or another and that have presented options have all uniformly said the same thing. We can't give you a proposal until you choose a site, because they can't put any financials together until there is a location for them to attach those financials to. So if we are saying, come back and bring us all of the options that is more specific and more detailed, that is going to take far more than 120 days, because then you're asking the private community and these partners that we may or may not partner with to give us proposals on 6 different sites. And we're also simultaneously exploring landfilling, and we're also simultaneously exploring training it out and methane capture for landfills. It is an arduous task at best to direct the administration to go and essentially negotiate all of these deals on 6 potential sites. And I don't know what the validity is going to be of whatever they come back with, because the financials of these sites are still so opaque and unknown. And so I see our obligation as board members to either go landfilling, which is the current recommendation of the administration, which they made clear at our last hearing was not going to change. I specifically asked, this is the recommendation and this will remain the recommendation, and the answer was an affirmative yes. Or we take a different approach and say we are not following that recommendation. We are going to go waste to energy facility, and we then need to pick a location. But I do not see anything different happening, quite frankly, between now and 120 days, because it's just insufficient time for the administration to go and do this comprehensive heavy lift, 6 different sites, public-private partnerships with FP&L, all of these different companies. And I don't mean to call out FP&L individually. There are a number of them that want to partner with us on a P3 basis to build a waste to energy facility. They're not going to be able to do that in 120 days. They're just not going to be able to do it. That's what I have been told by them, and that's what I understand. So I am very cautious of us sitting here in 6 months or 4 months and being in the exact same position that we are in right now. That is my concern. And so I don't know if the question is to the administration or to...
Yeah, I would love to clarify.
No, hold on. Time out. Thank you, Commissioner Cohen-Higgins. I see your concern. It's not necessarily my concern. And I'll say why. We've had 2 years to work on this. Now we've got to put deadlines. If in 120 days, this body is persuaded by someone, by the administration, by the private, by someone, that we need an extra 30 or 60, then this body can make that decision at that time. But we need to set a deadline. And I understand, we don't want to set the administration up to fail. I had a conversation with the administration. My original timeline was also 90 days. Right. That was my original timeline. The administration asked me, the one request they asked on my item, I know that the mayor's team is here, was if I could give them more time to 120 days. They didn't ask for 180 days. They didn't ask for 365 days. They asked for 120. I didn't fight back. I did not push back. So I'm confident that they on their end would make it work. Now, of course, we also depend on the private sector, and that's one of your comments. The private sector and those with interest have heard this conversation for 2 years. I want to assume, and we all know what happens when you assume, but I want to assume that they all have their ideas of what they can propose. And they're all very good-sized, reputable companies that have a team that can prepare these options for us relatively quickly. Now, that still leaves us with the location site, the site location, which is another item which we'll discuss here in a minute. But the reason for my item is because the site location has been discussed for almost 2 years and we've gotten nowhere. So I'm trying to work backwards here, because maybe some of these companies, these P3s that can come about, will have suggestions on sites. They might own some sites that we don't know about because we have not engaged in this RFI sorts of conversations, or they can suggest based on their experience where we can best obtain a permit, and then we follow that site. Again, all this has to come back to the board, but this is why the purpose of my item was, it's to get the ball rolling on all options. Commissioner, did you want to say something on me? Okay, Commissioner Hardeman, followed by Commissioner Gilbert and Commissioner Gonzalez. Okay, you're responding to me.
Yeah.
Okay, so Commissioner Gilbert, then Hardeman, and Gonzalez.
Mr. Chair, thank you. I appreciate what you're saying, Commissioner Cohen-Higgins, but I think that the chair was right, and I think that he's actually not working backwards. I think he's actually working forward. You know, we have these private companies out there, we have the administration out there, we have the industry out there. They have ideas about where the site should be also. They could make that as a part of their proposal also. They can do it also. We've been acting as though we have to select the site and then go find the people to operate it, when in truth, a real partnership, a real public-private partnership allows for them to actually suggest that also. It might be cheaper in one site. It might be, and quite frankly, they know the sites we own and they know the sites that we've been discussing. They know about Airport West. They know about the Doral site. They know about Idle George. They would know about 58th. They know about all the sites. So they actually have, they can express in their proposals a preference. They can do that. And we can evaluate that. So we may still make the site selection separately, but we don't necessarily have to. We could take their suggestions in whole and weigh their suggestions versus a landfill at some place in North or Central Florida, which still might be, according to Commissioner Regalado, the most economic and, ironically, environmentally sensitive decision. We would be able to weigh those things. We need to be able to weigh those things.
That's correct. Commissioner Hardeman, you're recognized.
When we look in the audience, some of the shirts that they're wearing say "No to incinerators," right? And so the first thing that I think about is how are we moving forward in the terms of, are we going to require an incinerator to be built? And I appreciate this item because it gives credence to the thought that an incinerator is part of a plan when it talks about when we're managing waste in Miami-Dade County. It has always been a part of our plan. We have landfills, we had an incinerator, we have recycling. I guess the composting is what we've been lacking on. But, when you think about how we're going to manage trash in our communities, I believe that an incinerator is a healthy part of that discussion. I think we put our heads in the sand if we say that the solution is merely going to be landfilling. We haven't seen that to be the gold standard anywhere. And so some people may be doing some of that, but that doesn't mean that it works for this community. When you look at the statistics about how we generate trash in Miami-Dade County, it does not lend itself well to simply landfilling. And so we must decide, it's an interesting conversation that I hear when you say, well, do we pick the site first? I agree. I mean, part of me says pick the site first, but that supposes that we all agree that we're going to build an incinerator. But that's not the recommendation that we got from our administration and our mayor. The recommendation that we got last that I read was to landfill. And I believe that is not making a decision. I think that if this board is going to make a decision, then we need to do something in short order. And the first decision that we make is to decide whether or not we're going to build an incinerator. And once we've gotten control of that, because I think that that's what Commissioner Gilbert's item does. It presupposes that it gives credence to helping us make the decision about whether or not we're going to incinerate. But I think many of you know well and good that this is the best thing for Miami-Dade County to do, to decide to incinerate. Once we've decided to incinerate, right, then maybe we start to talk, then we should start talking about the location. And that could involve our neighbors, Broward County, City of Miramar, it could involve that sort of conversation to see where it goes, how it goes, because maybe we don't want to duplicate these sorts of assets. However, we need to make a decision. If we could make the decision in short order to incinerate, just start there, I think that we would save a lot of time. All of you may not appreciate incineration. I don't think anyone 100% does, but this is just a reality because there are pros and there are cons to each of the sort of solutions that are being proposed. And that's why I believe that cities usually incorporate all of them in their trash maintenance system. We need to do what is the responsible thing for the residents of Miami-Dade County. We cannot acquiesce to the interests of simply a few, even if they are represented by municipalities or organizations that what they care about are just the interests of either their city or their line of thought. I didn't wake up every day saying, I want to build an incinerator. We had an incinerator in Miami-Dade County. And we did not have people coming here every single day telling us to stop incinerating. It was a part of our reality in Miami-Dade County. It becomes something to discuss when it catches fire. But this is a facility that we knew needed maintenance, that we knew needed some updating, that we knew was not performing it was lackluster in its performance, and that we knew should have been replaced. Now it's time to do the replacing. We have to make a tough decision. This is part of that decision-making process. We should decide now what we're going to do in regard to trash maintenance.
Commissioner Gonzalez, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And, first and foremost, I want to thank you, Chair, for bringing this item. I had a very similar item that I was going to pose because, I about 2 years ago, I met with some company that had an idea about a public-private partnership, and then that just disappeared, right? And this is becoming extremely frustrating. And when I hear my colleague, Commissioner Cohen-Higgins, I understand her frustration. I understand her frustration because, to Commissioner Hardman's point, I mean, folks, not making a decision, and I say this with the utmost respect, not making a decision is making a decision. It really is. This is costing the county more money every single day that we don't make a decision. And to the chairman's point, for 2 years, it just seems like we've gotten half information here, half information there, a kind of recommendation here, a kind of recommendation there. And I mean, I'm looking at the administration and I'm looking at very capable, intelligent, incredible human beings. And with all due respect, I will say, this is time for Team No Sleep, folks. This is time to all hands on deck. We need to get all the information possible, and we need to make a decision yesterday. Because with all due respect to Commissioner Hardiman's point, this is an issue that should have been solved 8 years ago, at the very minimum 5 years ago, and we wouldn't be sitting here. But we are where we are. It is what it is. We can't keep kicking the can down the road. Let's roll up our sleeves and let's figure this out and make a decision now. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Gonzalez. Cohen-Higgins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to my colleagues. We have a number of items on the agenda, and I know we're currently on only 11A19, and Commissioner Hardiman and Commissioner Gonzalez, I couldn't agree with you more that we need to make some sort of a decision. And again, it's because of the fact that we have different recommendations And the item that is before us doesn't just say bring us proposals for waste to energy. It also says give us the numbers on landfilling. So this item moving forward travels under, and literally that we're still considering all options, that we're not making a decision. We're going to look at the financials of the landfilling. We're going to look at the waste to energy facility on 6 potential locations. And I feel like as was articulated by Commissioner Hardiman very eloquently, we have to make a tough decision at this board. We have to make a tough decision. The administration has given us a ton of information. The Arcadis reports that have been attached to reports in the past have been very, very lengthy. And I think that this body has to make a decision. And if we're not comfortable making one today, which clearly the body is not comfortable making one today, I think that in 120 days, we make that decision. And I've said this before. So if we're going to invite our private partners to give us proposals, please work on that immediately. We can't pick a site apparently, so the private community, you pick a site apparently, and give us those proposals. And we're going to find land to, I guess, do our own landfilling, even though we have, the amount that we need for 25 years in other landfills. Whatever we're going to do, I want us to put a very firm deadline on it, not only for the reputation of us as a body here, sending the message to our residents that we're capable of making tough decisions, but also to the residents who come down, some as far as Broward, and come and sit through these meetings for hours and hours, waiting for us to make a decision. And so, again, I've said this before, I don't know if this body is inclined to impose a deadline upon ourselves that is real and that is actual and that we all commit to sticking to, but I would like for us to bring this in for a landing. If it is not today, which it doesn't appear that it is going to be today, I would like for it to be in the 120 days. And if we need to sit here for 8 hours and like Commissioner Gonzalez said, we stay and dig our heels in, let's do that. If we as a body want to retain our own expert as commissioners, we can do that as well. We have our own budget. We can retain an expert that can look at these issues for us. But at some point, we cannot continue to say, we don't have enough, we don't have enough, we need more, we need more, we need more. At some point, we have to make a decision. And I would like to propose that we commit to that 120-day deadline. We're asking the administration to get it to us in 120 days. Whatever date thereafter, let's pick a date that is in June at one of our hearings before our August recess and commit as a board to making a decision. If we're going to landfill, and that's going to be the decision of this body, we will make that decision then. If we're going to build an incinerator and it's going to be at one of the 6 locations, we're going to make that decision then. I really think that we should commit to bringing this in for a landing. So that is a motion that I'd like to make to, I don't know if it's a motion or anything that needs to be that formal, but I do think we need to send the message to the community that we are going to make a decision on this and not kick the can any further down the road.
So
Thank you, Mr.
Commissioner, thank you, Commissioner Cohen-Higgins. I think we all can concur with that. I think we all agree with what you said, but my item does just that. Now, is it, you're trying to strengthen? I mean, the administration has to bring this back within 120 days, and then this body makes a decision. That's, I mean, I don't, hold on, no, this triggers now, hold on. My thing is, I am, by the way, I'm included in this, that, what I said earlier, that no staff here in the county has gone through this before. That includes me. I think it includes all of us. Like, I'm not an expert, so I need all of the information. If landfilling is one of the options that we're exploring per the mayor's recommendation, and some of the items that have been brought, and mine includes exploring that as well, like, I need to know what landfilling looks like. I need to know what, I've seen the preliminary estimation numbers from the mayor's report, but that's not identifying a specific piece of property. That's not identifying if it qualifies. I want to know, like, I want to be able to feel it, to touch it. I want to feel comfortable with it. It's like, I mean, as a small business owner, that's how I make my decisions in business, not just shooting in the dark. I know you're in line. I know, but you're like, yes, everybody wants to talk now. I get it. Everybody will get their fair share. So I'm happy to amend it because that's my goal anyway. So I'm happy to accept an amendment, but my item does that. So I'm not, what would we amend to it?
Point of order. That's what I was saying. Point of order. Her amendment would be to
Commissioner
our action. So you're directing the administration to bring back the information. Her amendment, the substantive change between her amendment and the item as printed would be, we would be required to make the decision in 120 days.
If we have the information?
If we have the information, yeah. Yeah.
But point of order, I mean, and again, I
Commissioner
don't.
Regalado, yes, you're
Thank you.
recognized.
I don't, this board has made several decisions. We put the trash on the trains. We decided that we weren't going to go just with incineration, and now we're considering landfills. We haven't voted on all the other items. We're debating items that we haven't even voted on. So as we vote on these items, we're making those decisions, and those decisions go together with your item to provide us with the final options in 120 days. I can tell you personally that I've been working on the landfills and getting the information, just like I've worked on all of my items. And by the way, I've worked on all my items with staff. I've given them all the information, and a lot of us have been working on this. It's not like, Commissioner Higgins and I are trying to resolve the composting problem. I've been composting for 2 years. I mean, we have made decisions. Now, have those decisions changed? Yes, they have. We have changed our mind on certain things, but I don't think that in any way takes away from the decisions that we have made and the ones that we are making today. So, first and foremost, I just want to say the urgency that we had 2 years ago when we didn't know what we were going to do with our trash and we didn't know how much we were going to pay for our trash, that has been eliminated. And we have different options, and now we can move within those options. Now, long-term planning, yes, we need to make long-term plans and we need to decide what our portfolio looks like. But honestly and truly, the only real deadline is the insurance deadline, February 2026. I mean, everything else, if we decide like other boards not to go beyond 10 years, we can make that decision. I don't recommend that. I think that we should plan beyond 10 years, but we have made those decisions, and I don't think this board needs to force itself to make a decision just because, we haven't even gone through the items today.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Regalado. So here's what I'm gathering. A few things. One is we have made several decisions. So you're right. It is deceiving to the general public to indicate or insinuate that we have not. That said, to clarify, because there is some truth here, is what we've not made a decision on in 2 years is a long-term 30 to 50-year solution. That is what we need to make a decision on. That is what the intent of my 11A19 item does. I have no problem imposing on myself that deadline. Subject to, Commissioner that proffered the amendment, I have no issue holding myself accountable. Subject to having all of the options presented by the administration. So I have no problem with holding ourselves accountable. I will hold myself accountable to make that decision within the 120 days or shortly thereafter with time to review the report or the options. If we have all of the options, though, we cannot, in 120 or 160 or 180 days, this body cannot make a decision if the administration and or the private sector doesn't meet our deadline, which we're strongly suggesting that they meet our deadline. Otherwise, then yes, then we need, I don't know what, at that point, we need to not direct the administration, just need to do things ourselves, which hopefully doesn't get to that. But yes, I am happy to impose that restriction on myself. I think we all want to make a decision. I am not scared of making a decision, even if it's an unpopular one. I don't care. I care of doing the right thing for the residents of this county, and I know everybody here does. Commissioner Gilbert, and then I'll.
Mr. Chairman, one of the things, let me just say I appreciate the hard work from the administration and a member of my colleagues and my colleagues. We all have varying and differing opinions about this, but I appreciate all of your work. One of the things that gets lost, though, is we actually have made a decision about whether to build a waste-to-energy facility. When we passed the resolution that directed the administration to go negotiate with the city of Doral for the tax increment, the premise of it was that we're going to build this facility and we're not going to build it there. We need you to help finance it with the increment value. That was the premise of the item that we passed. And there was only one no vote to it. So sometimes we get confused because the administration recommended something. The administration does not set policy for this county. The stated policy, because it hasn't ever changed, is that they're going to talk to them about their tax increment and we're going to build the facility somewhere else. That is what we voted on. But it's confusing, Commissioner Hardeman. I understand because they keep changing their mind. But them changing their mind and their opinion does not change our policy. In no ways. And let me just say, sometimes it's appropriate to change your mind. A good example is what Commissioner Cohen-Higgins, when you asked whether they were going to change their recommendation. And I think I do remember them saying they weren't. And when they said that, I said, that's foolhardy. Never say that you're not going to change your mind. Because part of their recommendation was based on cost. So they're evaluating cost of landfilling versus cost of building a waste-to-energy facility. But that cost was based on numbers that are negotiable. If those costs went down, their recommendation might change. And the chairman's resolution gives us a chance to actually look at that. So at any of the other sites, at the Idle George site, at the 58th Street, if the cost changes, then their recommendation necessarily should change. I would hate to believe that the administration was going to say, you know what, this is it, and no matter what, and everything changed around them, and they just maintained the position because they said they were going to do it. No, that's not smart. You get new facts, you get better facts, you make new and better decisions. That's my expectation of the administration, expectation of the county. I also expect them to do what we're asking them to do. You know, it's not lost on me that the undertone of all of our comments, and especially, is we don't know that we're going to get the information back in 120 days. And so we're trying to build escape hatches for not getting information back instead of just saying we're going to get the information back. We're going to get the information back.
Commissioner, I know some of us on this body may not agree. I genuinely have trust and faith in the administration that they are going to have no sleep, to Commissioner Gonzalez's point, and get this back to us.
Mr. Chairman, I believe that they're going to try their best. That's what I think they're going to do. And I think that Arcadis is capable enough, and I think they can bring in subs. I think you're going to try your best. But in 120 days, I hope that if you don't come back with, you have to come back with something. So the perfect can't be the enemy of the good. You got to come back for something.
Not just something.
Yeah, you got to tell us. Yeah, it's because I understand Commissioner Cohen-Higgins' frustration. I understand Commissioner Gonzalez's frustration. And I love seeing you all with the nice green shirts. And I know I loved you all coming down here, Mayor Messam. You all welcome anytime. But it's time to put this baby to bed.
Yeah. So okay, so we've got it. We've got a date, which is 120 days. On or before the 120 days, please submit all of those options to this body. You don't have to wait for the BCC meeting or a committee. You can email it and circulate it, and then I will call a special meeting or a designated BCC meeting or some version of a meeting similar to this one to review all those options and make that decision with this body at said time. But do not wait for a meeting to submit all of those options. Once you have it, go ahead and send it in within those 120 days, and then shortly thereafter, I will make sure that I agenda these items and move it forward.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Bermudez, you're recognized.
just a point of clarification. I supported the item because, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that takes in the amendment from Commissioner Regalado that we discuss all options, correct? Which includes landfilling. Because I supported the item because at one point, I have not necessarily made the decision that incinerating would be the best choice across the board.
It includes.
Right, it's one of the options. As long as it includes as one of the options, I don't have a problem. But I don't want to, with all due respect to Commissioner Hardeman and to Commissioner Gilbert, I want to make sure we look at every option. I supported the item because I think you've given us an opportunity. I also agree with Commissioner Cohen-Higgins that we do have to make a decision. But by looking at every option that we have, I know Commissioner Regalado and the administration. By the way, let me just say one thing, and I'm going to speak for myself personally. I do think the administration, as the one county, and the mayor as one of the one county-wide elected official that sits up here, does have a right to weigh in on policy. That's why people elect us, including us and her. So I am supportive of this because there's a friendly amendment and there is a timeline, and I'm fine with that. But I want to make sure that we're looking, you're going to look at all the options. You're not going to just look into incineration.
Commissioner Bermudez, this is actually the only item
Right.
that does all of that.
And that's the reason why I'm supportive of it, because at this point I see we're going to be talking about different things. Everybody knows where I stand. Because I have an item that's pretty
pick
clear.
one or the other. This is the
Right.
only item that actually does all of the above.
I know, Mr. Chair, but
Weighted-
I want to be clear as we move forward because, you know, and I guess I'm going to also, my colleagues, and I commend them, have recently gone to other parts of the United States to look into some of these things. Some have gone to Europe to look at some of these things. Well, you know, I want to have a say on this. I want to have a say on composting because, you know, I wasn't elected to be up here just to take pictures. So truthfully, I want to, the 120 days is fine with me because it's going to give all of us an opportunity. But again, I applaud you for including all the things, including landfilling, which our environmental community in large part has says may be the best long-term solution. And I wasn't there before, but I may be there now.
Thank you. And you're now a prime co-sponsor of this item, so you will have a say. You've always had a say, and you will continue having one commissioner. Commissioner Bastien, followed by Regalado, and then, you know, we'll try to wrap this up at some point. It's the first item.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This all, Mr. Chair, this all sounds like déjà vu. Again, I know you're very optimistic, Mr. Chair, about getting some real information in real time to make the best decisions for the residents of Miami-Dade County, which they deserve. I understand and I believe that relying and some of you on the dais also support this, that relying solely on landfill may appear to be a cost-effective decision now, but expenses may continue to go up. It is clear, and that's why I'm concerned about this item, Mr. Chair, and I'm not as optimistic. It is clear that investing now in a waste-to-energy facility mitigates this uncertainty about cost increase. A decision that, as Commissioner Gilbert indicated, was already made by the administration. It would provide a controlled and predictable cost structure for waste disposal temporarily, because at the last meeting I did indicate that we need a comprehensive plan to solve our trash problem. So while the initial investment to waste-to-energy facility is significant, it is also a strategic move, because developing and implementing a zero-waste comprehensive plan, which I think we should embrace, takes time. And time is of the essence. So by committing to rebuilding the waste-to-energy facility before, from what I understand, there is a deadline of February 12, 2026, if we want to benefit from the insurance dollars, insurance proceeds that cannot be neglected, this would give us time, the time that we need. So I'm concerned now, I'm going to support the item, Mr. Chair, but I'm concerned that, we're going to come back in the same place, and then if we don't have the courage to act, we will come back to the same place. It's like a little toddler going in circle, and thinking that he's making advance, but in fact, he's just going in circle and then ends up at the same place. So it will take courage, because the 120, we may get a report, and then there is no way, we cannot find common ground.
Agree.
And then we're gonna delay again. So that's my concern, Mr. Chair. I'm gonna support the item, but we need to go into this with open eyes, with a clear understanding that the 120 days may come, the administration may provide a report, and then we still cannot make a decision because, like I said, it takes courage, and then we need to understand that whatever we do, we have to do it for the benefit of our residents. Think of our residents first. And also, lastly, we need to be good stewards of our taxpayers' dollars. All these reports are not going to be free. Like I said, we've been there again. I'm gonna support this item, but we have to understand that it's not gonna shoo away that this body here, that we will get what we need to make the correct decision, and that this body will agree and will have the courage to make the right decision. Thank you so much.
Commissioner, thank you for those comments, and you're absolutely right. I completely agree with you. In fact, what I will say now, and this is not cover your ears administration, I want you to look at this date. You have the 120 date. Within 30 days, so really sometime in July, I will make sure that I add these options back on an agenda so that this body can make a decision if we have all the information. And if we don't have all the information, I am prepared to have items drafted to bring before this body. If this body decides not to vote on it, then that is a decision that you all will have to answer to the constituents. But I will have items drafted to make decisions come July if we don't have what we're asking for. 2 seconds. I want to just recognize the sheriff who we have here, Rosie Cordero Stutz. Thank you for being with us today. I know you're out there protecting us, so thank you. Commissioner Higgins has been patiently waiting, and then Regalado, and then Hardiman.
So, thank you, Mr. Chair. I really appreciate this discussion. I guess a little differently, or perhaps reflecting my colleague, Commissioner Bastian's thoughts. And Commissioner Cohen-Higgins, I'm less hopeful that we're going to get clear and insightful recommendations out of the next memo that we'll be receiving in 120 days. I, like many of you, have talked to, I don't know, we're probably up to each of us 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people with ideas for how to solve this problem, none of which we've ever received any information from a memo about. So it's interesting. The administration is only writing the memos we're asking for. They're not doing proactive evaluation of all of these other things. So, and by the way, every time we ask them for a memo, they contradict the memo they wrote before, as they have done today, which is why I pulled 2B5. I think we need to activate the unsolicited proposal perspective. I don't mind doing this. This can go on simultaneously. We'll see whatever we get. But at the end of the day, this board needs to receive proposals, and we could just, whatever, from the dais say, you all need to submit unsolicited proposals within 90 days. Throughout the 7,000 memos over the past, 2 years that have been out there, the pros and cons of every site are evaluated. Right? We know the wildlife concerns, that's been evaluated. The report by ACADIS is very, very thorough on that. We know what might be easily permitted, what might be more difficult permitted. So we haven't picked a location, but they can look at that and say, you know what, if we have our preference, it's 58th Street, maybe not for incinerator, but maybe for some recycling. And maybe it's Opa-locka West for this, that, or the other thing. And make them propose. And I think we're going to get better information having an orchestrated, unsolicited proposal process where we get, FP&L, I don't know, they call whatever. They call all of us every other day and claim they can do this. Beto, have they written anything down? No. They don't call you. But they're, at the end of the day, it's all a PowerPoint presentation. It's not a proposal, right? And we've tossed FP&L around, but there are many, many, many others. Actually, some ideas are much more innovative, and some don't even involve incineration, but it's a heck of a lot better moving towards zero waste than landfilling. Really, really innovative approaches on that even include composting, allow the reuse of plastics, like saran wrap stuff that doesn't even happen now. So there's tons of ideas out there, and these people are coming to us. And what we're doing with this is we're saying, oh, talk to the administration, which so far hasn't provided us with anything useful except a different memo every month, changing their mind every month, and every memo is inconsistent. So I presume we're going to get another inconsistent memo, and I agree with you, Commissioner Cohen-Higgins, that there's no way in heck they're going to have this done in 120 days properly. But we should just put the private sector on notice that they should be submitting their unsolicited proposals. There's enough information out about these sites. Obviously, the president is involved in Doral, so, note to self, probably don't get involved with that. If you have any common sense, don't do that. But he's not involved in any of the other sites, so think about them in the way that they might work for various pieces of this, right? Some might be better for possible waste to energy mass burn facilities. Other might be better for recycling or composting. But that's what I think we need to do. We need to do both. We need to move forward with your item and pray that we get something useful out of it. That's where I am on the memo receiving end of things on landfills for the past 2 years. I just pray there might be something useful in it. But at the end of the day, get the private sector to stop talking to us and making phone calls and sitting in my room with their little PowerPoints or on Zoom and put their money where the mouth is. Tell us what's going to cost to build. Tell us what piece of land they prefer. And then we can evaluate it, because we're going to have to make the decision. What we've learned in this process is we're not going to get a decision from the administration. The administration is waiting for us to make that decision. And so this memo is not going to be helpful to us. It's going to provide a menu. I would just get these people to come in, and then we say, oh, here's the 5 or 6 things that the private sector are interested in. They're real. They're not just talking hocus pocus and sending emails with, like, I'm a genius on solid waste. You should respond to all my emails because I'm a genius on solid waste. I presume you guys are getting the same emails. Make them do a proposal. Put their money where their mouth is, and then when, Mr. Chairman, you call your meeting, whatever that may be, July or August, we have the ability to do both. And perhaps those unsolicited proposals would have been evaluated by the mayor in this memo. But if they haven't, we have the opportunity to take a look at them and then direct the administration to negotiate more deeply if one of them looks particularly promising. So thank you for listening.
Thank you, Commissioner Higgins. And actually, that's exactly what my item does. I mean, it just doesn't say the words unsolicited proposal, but that's what it is. When you go to market and ask them to give us all their proposals, that's exactly what this is. So that to one correction, but I understand the frustration. We all share that at times. Again, I'm not asking for a report. So I know you mentioned when the report comes in, we can't rely on no. This is not a report. I mean, you could do a cover sheet, a memo with what you found to give a synopsis, a summarized version, a Reader's Digest version. But these are all the full options, not just a report. Commissioner Regalado, Hardiman, and Cohen-Higgins.
I understand the point about the unsoliciteds, and I think that if people were interested in making an unsolicited, they would have already made it. But point taken, you're saying we want unsoliciteds. I think the better instrument to get to the end result within the time that we want is an RFEI, right? Which is a request for expression of interest, because an unsolicited requires you to put a bunch of financials and market information, which triggers an RFP, which then triggers another thing, right? So I think you can get an RFEI, from people that are interested.
Commissioner, sorry. We're not doing an RFEI because we know who's interested. We know that.
Well, I'm just putting it out there. Those are the options, right? You can say people bring unsoliciteds, but understand that the unsoliciteds trigger a series of things that then we have to walk through with the administration. So you're saying, I'm just saying there's a bit of a conflict there, because we're saying we want a menu of choices, and then we want to make decisions. But once you get an unsolicited, that triggers a process that we all have to go through. So my point is there's different things.
I got you. I
Now,
agree.
the
You're right.
only other thing that I would add is I think that the administration could get us the information in 120 days. And I know that we all have PTSD about the way that things are presented to us. My only request is that we have at least 5 business days to review whatever information that we're given. That's my only request, because that's what drives me to drink, is when I get it, 5 business days to review. No, you say no, but then we get it like the day before the meeting, right? Or we get it 12 hours before the meeting and it's 300 pages. So my only request is that I'm happy with 120 days. I'm working on my stuff in real time. I'll have it done before, but I want us to have sufficient time to be able to read it and to be able to meet with staff, to be able to ask questions and to be briefed on it. So I just ask for 5 business days whenever we get that information, that there be at least 5 business days from when we receive the information and when we actually have to vote. That's my only
Thank you,
request.
Commissioner. Thank you. And you're right. Look, so let me try to reel this back in, and I'll recognize those that still want to speak. But ultimately, if everybody has expressed that they agree with this item, and I think we should move on to discuss the others. That said, a few things. We're not doing an RFI. We're not doing an RFEI or an unsolicited proposals, because what we're asking for is exactly that in a different way. Is the administration is going to go to everybody that has an interest in this is here today, and if they're not, they're watching. You have less than 120 days to reach out to our administration. Administration, you have less than 120 days to reach out to them. We all know who these players are. If they don't, this is why we don't need the unsolicited. If they don't, they're not in the game. They're not being considered by this body to have a say, to give a proposal, to give an opinion, none of the above. So, and I see some of them here in the audience today. So you have a week to reach out to the administration. And the administration, you guys have a week to start these conversations, because it'll take time, right? Don't wait till the 120 days. And then to your second point, Commissioner Regalado, it's going to be more than 5 days. I'll tell you why. Their 120-day deadline is June. I'm going to agenda this probably the end of July. So, no, they still have their deadline per our directive of this body that we're voting on today.
But just
It is not a 5-day window. It'll be much more than 5 days.
I just want 5 days. I've played this game before. I just want 5 days.
So yes, you will have your 5 days. I will make sure of that. Can we bring this in for a landing, or is there still comments on this particular item?
I have a couple of things just quickly to say.
Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Higgins, seconded by Cohen Higgins. Commissioner Hardiman, you're recognized.
Thank you. First, Commissioner Gilbert brought up some pretty important information. We did have a resolution that directed the mayor to begin negotiations with Doral. I don't remember getting the result of that, those negotiations. So I think that if that has not been completed, I think that it should. Now, Doral may just outright refuse to negotiate, and then that should be considered in whatever decision making that we have. But at least we would know that we had given them really the ability to talk about how they could help finance this project through that tax increment finance is first. And second, I'm not afraid of the big bad wolf. And what I mean by that is that because a man was elected into office and he supposedly has some sort of magical power to keep us from making decisions that are in our best interests, I don't understand that. I want to challenge that person to make the decision. I don't think that this county should engage in politics that really unearth fear for us to make a decision that's in the best interest of our community in order to have the approval of someone who's only going to be in office for 4 years. this facility takes 7 years to build, even at that site. We wasted 2 because we did make a decision. The other options we're going to build an incinerator are like 10 years. And so I said that to you to say that this facility will not only outlast the life of the President of the United States, but certainly his term. And so if we're going to make a decision, at least we should go down that route, make a decision because we believe is the right thing for us to do. And if he decides to put his thumb on the ability for us to create energy consumption options for our community, then let that be a constitutional test of his authority. Look, if I were making a decision on this dais that had a financial benefit to me personally, I would probably be arrested. I would certainly at least be brought up on charges by the Ethics Commission. The basis of what we do here is based in conflict, right? We have these ordinances through the Ethics Commission and through ordinances that we put into place that are conflict of interest ordinances that sometimes we relax for certain people but not for other people and things of that nature. And but right here, if I had a conflict of interest, I would need to declare it. Each of you would need to declare it. And so it baffles me that we find ourselves in a position where we're not making a decision to go to a place like Doral because the president has a facility that which his Doral City Commission has now given them greater authority to build upon, and that this will have a deleterious effect on his construction. And then we'll say, well, maybe it's not the president, maybe it's his son and things of that nature. Whoever it is, I say smoke them out. So if this is what we're going to do, I think we make the decision to do it and then force him to do what it is that he claims that he's going to do. But just for us to not move forward because the fear of some boogeyman is imminent, I think is laughable. And when we do that, that is why we are not taken seriously as decision makers on this board. And so what I would appreciate is a decision based on what's best for our community. And if we're challenged because of that, then we are challenged because of that. But to not actually move forward with something just because we think that these people are going to do what we think they're going to do, I think is wrong. I think it's wrong.
Thank you, Commissioner. So, look, I think you hit some good points, and I just want to piggyback and say, yes, Doral, who some members of their elected body are here today, nothing that we're doing today, just because we're not relitigating what we've litigated in the past and have passed and have stated on this body, on this dais, means that you should think that's off the table. You all should still be having the discussion of what your piece of the pie is, what your portion of it financially, a reasonable financial portion, not what had been floated in the past, which was nowhere near where it needs to be. Look, I think the entire body will make the best decision for this county, not because there's a quote-unquote boogeyman. I don't see it as a boogeyman. I see the same way that we're listening to Doral residents, we need to at least listen to our corporate residents because they are part of the tax base of this county as well. That is the input. The input is not being weighed. Sure, we might be, some on this body might look at it that way, but it is a corporate resident that pays a good amount of taxes to this county as well. And employs many people in this county. So I listen to that just as much as I listen to any resident of this county. But yes, I don't think anything should sway what the ultimate best decision for this county is. With that, I would like to call a vote on this item.
Yes.
Good. All right. All in. We have a motion. We have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye, as amended, right?
As amended, that I will bring it within in the month of July.
Mr. Chair.
After the report. So the item is passed.
Okay.
All opposed, nay? No. Commissioner Bastian.
Just want to take a quick point of privilege to really commend Mayor Maysam He's been coming here to make sure that he hears the discussions, and then, and I want to commend you, sir, for expressing your concerns for your residents to make sure that, you get the information. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner.
Chair. It's only,
Commissioner Cohen-Higgins.
oh, sorry. Just in this similar spirit of Commissioner Bastien, there are other municipalities that are here, and I thank all of the elected officials for coming down, and all of the residents. We know that this is important to you, and we appreciate your voice, and we appreciate you being here. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And that doesn't mean you leave, because we still have other solid waste items.
Mr. Chair, I do want to take the time to thank the Mayor Doral and the council members, and also the residents that are here, and their city attorney, or one of their city attorneys, because they also, and I just hope that when we make that decision, there is not a decision already made by any of us to put it in a place, because policy and decisions are made to change, as this November election showed us. But thank you so much, and you too, Mayor Messam, who I've known for a long time before I was even up on this dais, and the residents of Miramar. But I also want to commend the residents of the city of Doral that are here, taking their time to be here, and the elected officials.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Mr. Chair, if we can take up 11A13.
Give me 1 second. I'd like to, unless you persuade me otherwise, I'd like to take 11A2 and 11A6 together, because they're somewhat.
We were just talking about landfills. I just would like to dispense of that item. I was the one that pulled it to add an amendment.
Okay, give me 1 second, though. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Well, we're going to get there. I mean, unless somebody has to leave and we're going to lose quorum, but we're going to get there in just a second. 11A2 and 11A6. Commissioner Gilbert and Bermudez. These, is it, in the interest of time, can we all agree that based on the lengthy discussion we just had, we could defer these items for the time being? Yes, sure. Is that? Okay,
I don't have a problem. We'll still have our items deferred for the further day when we have our discussion, right?
course,
I want to be clear on the record.
Yes.
No confusion.
We will still be voting on something at some point, and everybody will have their fair share. So, in July, Steinberg, come on.
I just want to say that our July meeting is on my birthday again.
All right, happy birthday to you.
Just so that you're all aware.
All right, all in favor of the deferral on 11A2 and 11A6 signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Show those items deferred. Commissioner Regalado, you're recognized for a amendment on 11A13.
Yeah, so on 11A13, I would like to amend it where instead of just purchase, it says purchase and/or joint venture and/or profit share. I've actually been doing research on all the available options, and I think that gives us more options, because there are a few that would prefer a joint venture and/or a profit share. So that's the first amendment. And then the second amendment, where it says near the rail line, I would like to add or economically equivalent options, because I did find some economically equivalent options. So those are my two amendments to my item, and I would like to move it.
All right, thank you. So show item 11A13 moved as amended by Commissioner Regalado, seconded by Commissioner Cabrera. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Show item 11A13 passed as amended.
Thank you.
Item 2B5, Commissioner from District 1 is a pooling commissioner on this report, and Commissioner from District 5.
Go ahead first.
Commissioner Higgins, actually,
I said before.
Hold on. Because this is just a fun moment for me. I actually decide who goes first. That's just a fun moment. Go ahead, Commissioner, because I'm messing with you.
I said what I wanted to say. I don't have much faith in these landfill reports and these solid waste reports, so I'm just pulled it to vote no. Thank you.
All right, so these.
Same, yeah, I had some talking points where I was going to trash the report, but I decided not to.
All right, so we have the report moved by Commissioner Cohen-Higgins, seconded by Commissioner Cabrera. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay.
No.
Okay, show the two recorded noes. And I'm going to jump really quick to that really quickly line is really sticking. It's I don't like it, but it's really sticking. To 8P3, Commissioner Higgins, you're recognized as a pooling commissioner.
Yes, thank you. I just pulled this item to vote no, but colleagues, in all of my discussions, and I'll wait until you finish, Commissioner Cabrera, it became clear that this procurement, which is over $250 million, right, never had any oral presentations, and everyone I talked to, whether they were on the winning side or the losing side, agreed that oral presentations would have made a difference. And that option is currently 100% control of the selection committee, not we have the, Nomina can't say I'm requiring this. So I have a very short motion, and I'll pass it out when we're done with this item, that basically says if an item is spending more than $25 million in a year, the top bidders, should there be 3, would be allowed to have oral presentations.
All right, it's that, but that's a separate motion from
It's a
this item.
separate motion, but I think this has arisen.
Okay,
this
hold
is
that
so.
thought, because we're on the
Yep,
item.
I'm a no on the item.
So, okay, so, and you're a no on the item. So but we have a motion by Commissioner Cabrera to move it. We have a second by Commissioner Cohen-Higgins. Any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. All right, I show item AP3 passed. Now, Commissioner Higgins, you're recognized for the attorney to read your motion onto the record.
Yes, thank you.
Commissioner Higgins moves to establish a county policy that oral presentations shall be held by selection committees when evaluating bids or proposals received in connection with contracts under procurement with an estimated fiscal impact exceeding $25 million annually, including contracts having such fiscal impact in a single year or on a recurring basis over multiple years. In such cases, oral presentations shall be held for the 3 highest-ranked bidders or proposers, or if fewer than 3 bidders or proposers are ranked, for all bidders and proposers. The county mayor's designee is further directed to make conforming changes consistent with this policy to any implementing orders regarding the formation and performance of selection committees, including without limitation to implementing orders 3-34 and 3-39. That's the motion.
So moved.
All right, it's been moved by Higgins, seconded by Cabrera. All in favor? You're recognized, Commissioner Regalado.
Thank you. And I think it's a good idea. My only concern is for some water and sewer ones when it's a full-on blowout. So are you open to, if there's a tremendous disparity between, the bidders, and that's why they decide not to?
Yes, let's say that 10% point difference, is that acceptable to you?
I think that's good, because, sometimes that's, and I agree with you. I think that in this one, there should have been, and by the way, Commissioner Gilbert, did that. We did it at committee, so there was also, there's also that option. But I think sometimes it's a disparity, and they're just done. So that's all.
No, the third-ranked bidder can be way, way, way behind.
Exactly.
Show it with a
the top
10%
bidder. Okay.
delta. Go ahead, Commissioner Cohen-Higgins, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Commissioner Higgins, for this motion. I think it's long overdue. I do have a number of questions, because I too was very concerned, and I stated it at committee, that the fact that this is a $261 million contract and there were no oral presentations is extraordinarily concerning for me. But when I looked back through the selection committee and the process that they undertook, there were 23 bidders on this. And by the time it got to the selection committee, there wasn't a ranking. So I have a question on procedure, because it's my understanding, and the selection committee review process, it's not taped, it's just kind of reduced to notes via the clerk. It's not recorded, so we can't watch it. And I'd like to get clarification from our procurement department on procedurally how this works, because it's my understanding that the selection committee had 23 proposers in front of them. They started at 7:30 in the morning. They decided that they weren't going to take oral presentations from all, I think, 19 that had advanced to that place. And that was part of their decision in why they weren't going to do oral presentations, because there were just so many bidders. So my question is, at the time that oral presentations are appropriate, is there a ranking already decided where there can be a delineation and a decision to say only the top 3 are going to give and shall be required to provide oral presentations? To our procurement director, please.
You're recognized.
Thank you. Through the chair, Namita Upal, Chief Procurement Officer. Commissioner, the idea behind oral presentation is the committee will do initial evaluation based on the criteria that's in the RFP. Once they have done the initial evaluation or scoring, the scores will be tallied, and then we know what's the ranking. Now, based on that initial ranking, the committee will say, okay, top 3 will advance to the oral presentations, and then they'll re-rank those proposals again taking into consideration the information presented in the oral presentation.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. We have Commissioner Bermudez, followed by Commissioner Gonzalez.
Yeah, look, I'm gonna be supportive of this, but I just want to point out, Mr. Chair, that when we look at the committee, at the GET committee, I think we should, one of the things we're hopefully looking at will be some of the procurement process.
Correct.
I caution my colleagues that sometimes the cheapest is not the most responsive, number one. Number two, as we may have seen in this situation, what's defined as a local entity is maybe not as local as you think it is. And I think we need to look at that because, when the scoring comes along that way, I think it's patently unfair. So I'm going to support it because I think anything that we do as policymakers, and I agree that we're here to do the policy, and I certainly think Namida and her crew do a great job, but we're the ones that have to make sure that the rules are as fair for everyone as possible. So I just want to put that on the record because I think we're going to need to look at this thing from A to Z.
I think you're right, Commissioner Bermudez, and I add, I think we could just also revisit the definition of local preference. Like, what's the definition of a local business, right? Is it how many employees do they need? Anyway, we could. That's a separate discussion. We could do that in committee at the GET committee. Yes. Commissioner Gonzalez, you recognize, and then.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to thank Commissioner Higgins for bringing this forward. I had a very similar item, especially after the extensive conversations we had in committee. I'd like to ask Commissioner Higgins if I can co-sponsor this. This is brilliant. Thank you.
It's a motion, so show Commissioner Gonzalez co-sponsoring this motion, and Commissioner Bastian, you're recognized on the motion.
I know we already voted. I just went back there quickly, and then the vote you guys voted. Commissioner Cabrera, I had a concern about the employees. What's going to happen to them?
Hold on, Commissioner Bastian. No, I'm sorry. I know, Kevin, you're eager to respond, but we already passed this item. Let me get through this motion because we're on a different item now.
Okay.
Let me get through this motion, and then we'll let me see how I want you to get your answers. Is it to the attorneys really quickly? You see, here's the really quickly again. To the attorneys, it's already been voted on. Is it okay with sunshine for Commissioner Cabrera to approach Commissioner Bastian and explain? That's not okay, even though we've already voted on this. I mean, it's not a discussion on where anybody stands. It's a discussion on what she has a question about the employees.
He's ready to respond, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
He's ready to respond.
Yes, go ahead if it's really quickly.
It's really quickly. I promise, not like Raquel. All three companies agreed that no matter who won, that they would take on the employees and honor their seniority.
Thank you for
So
that.
their
really
seniority is honored as well.
Awesome. Thank you. Everybody's happy now. I love it. Commissioner Higgins moves her item as co-sponsored.
And just in closing, particularly with what Commissioner Bermudez was talking about, I think we all agree our selection committee process is totally broken. It's been broken for a long time. I know Commissioner Cabrera and Commissioner Cohen-Higgins had been brainstorming about ways to improve that. I certainly hope we look at that. This was the one thing that I felt could be done by motion that didn't need a more comprehensive item, and this could fix a problem immediately. So I look forward to whatever discussions happen. We should have professional selection committees. We should not be, rooting people. We're wondering why government is inefficient. It's because all of our employees are doing a not great job on selection committees, and they're unavailable to be doing their good jobs, the jobs they're at. So anyway, I look forward to seeing what everybody else is doing. I move my item. Thanks.
All right, it's been moved by Commissioner Higgins, seconded by Commissioner Cohen-Higgins, and Commissioner from District 7. You're recognized prior to the
Commissioner Higgins, I have the item on selection committee. I was asked by the administration to delay it for 30 days. I gave them 30 more days. It comes now March committee.
All in favor of this motion signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. As amended, show the item passed and with co-sponsor of Gonzalez, right? You wanted to co-sponsor that. All right, 2B1, Commissioner from District 5. You're recognized as a pooling commissioner on this.
Yes, this is the good work.
Wait, 2B5 or 2B1? I'm sorry.
2B1.
Is that what I said? Okay, 2B1. Go ahead.
This is the excellent work from the top team in RER, and Lourdes has been working on this for, I think, 5 years now to make sure that we are accelerating permitting on affordable housing. And this is part of the annual report showing dramatic improvements that have helped in getting our affordable housing permitted and, quite frankly, a lot of other things permitted. She made a couple of recommendations, so rather than bringing an item, I just thought I could move that we accept her recommendations. One is that instead of the 15%, we allow this to apply to any number of affordable housing units in a development. She's finding that there's no problem with that. She did have trouble with how and it was my fault, I classified them into small, medium, and large projects, and for the next report, she'd like to divide them into commercial and residential projects. So I would amend my original resolution for a couple days to accept her recommendations with your permission.
All right, show it amended, show it seconded by Commissioner Regalado. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Show item 2B1 passed. 3B1, Commissioner from District 12, you're recognized as a polling commissioner.
Yes, actually, I wanted to just commend the department, and I don't know if they're here or he's here, I think they are, but I do want to thank Josiel, because I noticed something about this. This thing, the Dadeland North Metro Rail Station parking structure study conducted in 2005 recommended the 2 elevators. So I'm very happy that 20 years later, we're actually moving forward. And I want to commend Josiel for, and the department.
Thank you for that recognition.
So, this is an example of some of the things that I think we can find as we go along that we really need to try to move. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And
With that, I'll move it.
Commissioner Bermudez moves 3B1. It's been seconded by Commissioner Higgins. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Commissioner from District 12, once again, you're recognized on 11-820.
Okay, this, if I'm not mistaken on this.
Would you like the attorneys to read the amendment?
Yeah, they could.
I understand it's a scrutiner's error.
No, it's actually a suggestion, but
Okay.
that'll be.
Mr. Attorney, you could read his amendment.
The amendment would add, as the last sentence in Section 3, if market research conducted by staff indicates that the minimum scope requirements specified in Section 2 are restrictive or hinder competition, the county mayor, county designee is authorized to make appropriate change to the scope to ensure that the solicitation meets all federal reimbursement eligibility requirements.
Yeah, basically, this still moves it along. The only important thing here is it was procurement recommended in case there was a challenge that this language been included. And I believe this has to be done before June 1st because, Mr. Chair, as you know, hurricane season will be around the corner. So I just want to make sure that deadline is June 1st, before June 1st. So, or includes the date of June 1st. That's essentially it.
Agree. It's been moved by Commissioner Bermudez, second by Commissioner Higgins. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Show item 11-820 passed. Madam Attorney, we have some additional motions.
Yes, we have a number. Would you like for us to read yours?
Sure, let's start with that one. Or I may have more than one, I think, but.
Your first motion, Mr. Chair, states that after consultation with the Miami-Dade Sheriff's Office, you move to appoint an interim base until the county completes a formal recruiting process, Jessica LaFarga as the county's 9/11 coordinator.
Please read all of them at once, if
Sure.
possible.
Chairman Rodriguez moves to amend the 2025 calendar of the Board of County Commissioners to reschedule both the March 4th, 2025 special meeting regarding Public Health Trust annual audit and the June 17th, 2025 annual joint meeting of the Board and Public Health Trust to March 18th, 2025 at 9:30 a.m. And additionally, Chairman Rodriguez moves to amend the fiscal year 24-25 adopted budget, correcting error in the project description of program number 200002957. The correct project is for the construction improvement in the Equestrian Center at Tropical Park, not the construction of an aquatic facility.
It's been moved by Commissioner Cabrera, seconded by Commissioner Higgins. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Show those motions passed. Do we have additional motions?
We have a number of motions.
Please, can we read them all, or do we have to go by commissioner? We have a lot of motions, so let's read them all.
Read them.
Unless, and then if someone wants to bifurcate a motion, we'll bifurcate a motion. Or we'll discuss it.
Yes, 1 second. No.
No. Not you.
Commissioner Cohen Higgins moves to direct the county mayor's designee to identify $250,000 in legally available funding in fiscal year 24-25 to the department, to go to the Department of Cultural Affairs for the development of the Florida Black History Museum in Miami-Dade County. Establishing the Florida Black History Museum in Miami-Dade County will serve as a vital institution preserving, celebrating, and educating the public about the contributions of Black Floridians, as well as promote and actively support substantial economic opportunities, increase tourism, cultural enrichment, civic engagement, and community goodwill.
Oh, we have more.
Commissioner Hardiman moves to urge the City of Miami to initiate the road closing process for city-owned and maintained roads located between Northwest 46th Street and Northwest 50th Street, and between Northwest 7th Avenue and Northwest 12th Avenue, and to take all legally required measures to effectuate said potential road closings. Further, the board urges that such closures shall prioritize traffic calming measures, increase tree canopy, improve pedestrian safety, intensify the quaintness of the subject area, where the centerpiece of the study area shall be the two municipal parks, one east of Northwest 10th Avenue, the other west of Northwest 10th Avenue. The avenues of Northwest 10th, 12th, and 7th shall not be obstructed. Northwest 46th Street and Northwest 50th Street shall not be obstructed. The traffic calming measures shall establish two distinct neighborhoods separated by Northwest 10th Avenue.
We got more?
Commissioner Cohen-Higgins moves to designate James E. McDonald as Vice Chairman of the Naranja Lakes Community Redevelopment Agency in accordance with Section 163.356 Florida Statute and Section 2-1470 of the County Code.
All right, so just to, do we have more motions? Okay, so just to be fair, this was brought to my desk. I didn't put it on the agenda because I didn't think we needed to, because I thought it was automatic that they were going to provide the things. So, but if there is a motion, does the other appointing commissioner, has he been made aware to also, is there another motion following?
He's not here, but yes.
Okay. Okay, would appreciate if the attorneys like advise me of these things, because yeah, as of last I heard, this just wasn't going to be on the agenda because it didn't need to be, because we gave a directive in the last board meeting. This body voted, and indicated to you guys and directed you guys that they would just provide the names, and then a different opinion was given by a different attorney thereafter. If a different attorney has a different opinion, then they need to say that at the time that we make a vote and a decision on this board.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to have Terrence follow up with you regarding what happened at the last meeting.
Thank you. Continue reading the motions, please.
Commissioner Higgins moves to reject the one bid received in response to invitation to bid number ISD-24-01 for the sale of the existing civil and probate courthouse located at 73 West Flagler Street in accordance with the mayor's recommendation that was posted and distributed on February 18th, 2025. She further moves to accept the loan bid submitted by GFO Acquisitions LLC, the developer, to the invitation to bid as an application under IO 8-4 for an exchange of county properties under Florida Statute Section 125.37, and to direct the county mayor's designee to complete an appraisal, title work, and due diligence of the 18,000 square foot vacant lot located at 54 West Flagler Street and to the developer within 30 days from today, and to authorize the District 5 Commissioner to negotiate an agreement on behalf of the county with the developer and, if necessary, with Gutierrez Resnick Properties LLC for an exchange of the existing courthouse property for the developer's property and additional monetary consideration such that the total value received by the county represents the fair market value of the existing courthouse.
Wow. Wow. That's a lot, Higgins. I'll tell you what's going on. It's a...
All right, let's take a pause and explain it at this time.
So my two items, I have another motion. They're both various courthouse related. So as you know, the construction on the new courthouse is nearing completion, hopefully maybe in April. We should have already gone under contract to sell the historic courthouse. So for the past couple of years, since 2022, I've been working with the administration. We have advertised that property with a ton of historic preservation, like we have a whole document of the National Historic Preservation to sell the property for someone to redevelop it into, likely a hotel, some kind of a facility like that. I will say the administration did a great job at advertising this nationally. And, you know, it's an old building. It's quite skinny. Where the elevators are, it's very difficult to actually build in. So we had a bid process. We did an appraisal. Looks like the building is worth approximately $53 million. So we put out an invitation to purchase saying that the minimum price was about $53 million. We only got one bidder. That bidder bid $53 million, but it wasn't all in cash. It was partially in cash and partially with a quite large piece of property also in downtown. So altogether, we believe it's $53 million, but it wasn't a cash offer. It was partially cash, partially land. Now, the administration, as I told you, has been delaying work on this since 2022. Because we've only got one bidder, I think it doesn't make any sense to send this out again to see who else is going to buy it. We're going to get the same bidder again. In this case, because there's a land swap, we are allowed under Implementing Order 8-4 to actually negotiate, which would mean we would do an appraisal on this person's property. We would make sure if he claims it's worth $20 million and he's given us $33 million in cash and $20 million in property, we know it's right, and we could negotiate the deal. The reason I'm asking you to allow me to be involved in these meetings, right, normally I would not be involved, is I can't get anybody to pay attention. You know, we're talking about this is a county. We are going to be embarking upon who knows what they haven't told us how much we're going to be paying for this new courthouse with this absolutely ridiculous P3 process. But we should be sitting on around $50 million in cash ready to come into the county. If I am able to do this, I would obviously have Monica at my trustee side while doing it, and obviously would invite the administration. But I would bring this back to you all, and as long as it's within that, close to that $53 million, if we can make a deal, we can get some cash in to help offset what's going to become a could be $50 million annual payment for the new courthouse. Yes, Commissioner Cohen-Higgins.
When do you term out?
Soon. 2028, you got 3 more years of messing.
Commissioner Cohen-Higgins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Commissioner Higgins, for bringing the item. I just want to be clear because your explanation, I just want to make sure it's consistent with the motion that was just read. You're not moving away from the one bidder. You're just negotiating with the bidder to basically verify numbers and determine whether or not there's viability to what that one proposal. Okay, I just wanted to be clear.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And would come back to you guys because I don't believe we're going to get any other bidders. Right.
Okay, so.
All right, it's been moved, it's been seconded. Commissioner Regalado.
Yeah, I understand that that's a complicated one, so, and I think that we should move forward on it, and obviously we have the deficit. The only thing that I would add is, you know, consider the possibility of renting space to other people inside the new courthouse, because that's another issue that we have we're gonna have an empty new courthouse, so, you know, that's something that we should all.
At appraised value.
Yeah, at appraised value, obviously, but.
Not to nonprofit.
No, right, no, 100%. No, to generate funding, to pay for this thing, right? Because, and look, as you know, I participated in the 73 West Flagler issue. I spent a lot of time, and I know that it's a difficult building, but I do believe that it can be monetized and that it does have value. And I'm happy to support you on that item. But I am going to have to 4-day rule the naming one because
please don't do that until I explain that it could cost us $60,000 a day. Let me explain myself before you do that. This is not naming as you're thinking.
Commissioner Higgins.
Please.
Hold on.
Please don't do that.
We have a motion. We have a motion on this one, on the one that you already explained.
I second her motion.
Been seconded by Commissioner Cohen-Higgins. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Now, has the naming rights one been read already? Yeah. Okay, has not been read. Okay. No. Do we have a motion on all of the ones that have been read? Let's start using process of elimination.
Move it.
So it's been moved by Commissioner Cohen-Higgins.
Before you vote,
yes,
I'd like to co-prime the one on the cultural funding of the
Can
museum.
you co-prime a motion? Sure, I think,
Thank
right?
you.
Okay, so show Commissioner Bastian co-priming the motion. We have a motion on the remaining of the ones that have been read into the record. Okay. We have a motion to move the rest. We have seconded by Commissioner Gilbert. All in favor of any discussion on those? No? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. All right, so up until now, we have a clean slate. And everything that's been read has been passed at this point.
Can I ask a quick question, Mr. Chair?
Sure, you're
The,
recognized.
on the resolution that was directing the city of Miami, are we please transmit it to them? Also provide my office with a copy of it so that I can walk it if I need to. Yes? Which one? Thank you. I understand.
Thank you. Commissioner Cohen-Higgins.
Thank you, and thank you to my colleagues for their support, and thank you, Commissioner Bastian, for your co-prime sponsorship. I just want to make it very clear that the administration, that this is funds already in existence, not new additional budgetary funds. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for that clarification. All right, now, which is the next one that you have in, the next motion that you have?
Yes, the next motion, Mr. Chair, by Commissioner Higgins, that's courthouse related, is Commissioner Higgins moves to suspend the public hearing requirement in Rule 9.02A of the Board's Rules of Procedure and to rename the new Miami-Dade County Civil and Probate Courthouse located at 20 Northwest 1st Avenue in Miami, Florida, and Commission District 5 as the Miami-Dade Justice Center. And this motion would require a 2/3 vote pursuant to your rules.
So it needs a 2/3 votes.
Yeah.
Commissioner Higgins,
Okay.
you're recognized to explain the urgency of this.
Okay, so let me explain what's happening here. Way back when Tara negotiated the P3 contract, the name of this building was called the Miami-Dade County Civil and Probate Courthouse. The judicial system, the chief judge, has asked, and everyone has consensus, they don't want on that building to have the words Miami-Dade County Civil and Probate Courthouse because they believe they'll be using this for other things. And by the way, this could go to what you were talking about, trying to find other vendors. They have asked specifically in writing that we adjust the contract with the guy that's building the building to when he makes this sign, it just says Miami-Dade Justice Center. So that has been asked. If we do not do this today, we will not be able to get their certificate of occupancy because the guy's printing this sign. And one of these two signs is going on there. Has nothing to do with, do we name it for like my dad, your dad, you know, whatever, Mickey Mouse, Harvey, Commissioner Hardiman. That dedication is a different process. This is literally like basically what's on Google Maps. The court system has asked for this, so there's two separate naming. This is the name of the building. That's how do we dedicate the name. I have, just for your situational awareness, I have submitted an item. The chair's office has received it. My understanding is we're going to have that on March committee, so this board can decide who, if anyone, we would like to dedicate this in. But if we miss the construction deadline on this project by any delays caused by us over printing a sign, it will cost $60,000 a day. So please approve this. I appreciate it.
Right, it's been moved, it's been seconded to the administration. You're confirming that what Commissioner Higgins is saying, obviously we don't doubt the truthfulness of it, but can we clarify that what Commissioner Higgins is saying is actually, there's two different naming rights of sorts. This body will still have an opportunity to discuss the sale of naming rights if this body chooses to do so. Or dedication. Well, we're selling ourselves, but sure, dedication sounds prettier. Yes, nod, yes to the attorneys? So I can move this along. Okay.
Yes.
I just need a yes, a verbal yes from the attorneys.
I'm sorry, I just because we are involved in litigation, the county does not necessarily agree that this is going to delay the opening of the facility. However, that is what the developer has said. If it's not approved by the end of February, that they won't have enough time to fabricate it. Of course, we would dispute that, but that is what their position.
But not
Point
my
of
question.
order.
Not my question. Not my question. Not my question. I'll repeat the question. Voting on this, passing this motion today does not preclude this body from then designating, is that the word that we're going with? Dedicating naming rights later down the line.
That is correct.
Thank you. If there's been a motion, there's been a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. Show the motion passed. Next motion? Can it be the Hardman Rodriguez? All right, next motion, Mr. Attorney.
Yes, Vice Chairman McGee moves to designate Cornelius Shiver as chairman of the Naranja Lakes Community Redevelopment Agency in accordance with Section 163.356 Florida Statute and Section 2-1470 of the County Code.
Awesome. Do we have additional motions?
I do for Senator Garcia, if you don't mind. There are two appointments.
Okay, would you like to read them or do the attorneys have them?
I think I have
Go
them.
ahead, Commissioner Higgins.
Barbara Casanova to the Hispanic Affairs Advisory Board and Anissa Mendez to the Neat Streets Miami.
All right, any additional motions?
Chairman, I have an allocation.
Commissioner Steinberg, you're recognized.
Thank you. I would like to make the following allocation from fiscal year 2024-2025 District 4 CBO discretionary reserve, a reimbursement request in the amount of $732.95 for Tribe of Nova. And I have a nomination of Rafael Granado to the County Advisory, to the Charter Review Task Force.
All right, show that motion and those allocations. Commissioner Regalado, you're recognized.
Yeah, I was told that I had to do my naming again for the Charter Review Task Force, Iris Siscara.
Okay, any additional motions, appointments, allocations? Seeing none, Commissioner Higgins moves all of those motions, seconded by Commissioner Bastien. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. Any additional business to discuss, Madam Attorney?
Not that I'm aware of.
Show the body adjourned.
Un adulto deberá completar los siguientes pasos. Paso 1. Coloque el imán sobre la tubería y observe si se pega. Tome una foto del imán pegado a la tubería o una foto que muestre que no se pegó. Paso 2. Con la moneda de 1 centavo, la llave u otra herramienta, raye con cuidado la línea de servicio más abajo o antes de la válvula de cierre, en dependencia del tipo de línea de servicio que tenga. Es probable que encuentre varias capas de pintura, por lo que tal vez tenga que rayar más profundo para llegar al material de base. Fíjese en el color de la